Welcome in, everybody, to our latest live broadcast. Today, it's the 3rd of June. It's Tuesday, 2025. My name is Carey Holzman, and we've got a very special guest joining us today, another fellow computer technician here in the United States of America, who is also a YouTube content creator. And if you're not subscribed, you're missing out on some great content. Please welcome back into the show our good friend, Ask Your Computer Guy, Scott Merrill. Welcome in, Scott.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming back.
Hey, I have one complaint.
Uh-oh. Right out of the gate.
Need to talk about that intro because you made me look like Peter Griffin.
Yeah, that was kind of a Family Guy looking.
Yeah,
for both of us. I'll get over it. Seen the one we didn't use.
Uh-oh. No, okay.
It's AI.
We'll just leave it at that. We'll leave it at that.
We don't want to. You had that whole Will Smith eating spaghetti thing going on.
Oh my God, that was hilarious. Yeah. And what was that crunch? Spaghetti doesn't crunch.
Like, you seen it, right? Audio?
It actually, you hear the crunch as he's eating. I'm like, that's not really good AI, but
he likes al dente.
Oh, it's a good point.
Speaking of spaghetti and al dente, Marco Melstrom, I see in our chat room, joins us all the way from Italy. See, now he'll tell you. And hello to everybody joining us. I see Dustin Fuller and Mark Baggett in there, as well as Eddie Casanova. And, of course, Mara, our channel administrator, hanging out. Scott's in there, of course. Ask Your Computer Guy. Craig Wilson says hello, and Sean Skinner joining us, along with Dwayne Blackwelder and Ben Laird. Ben joins us all the way from Scotland. And we've got David Graham saying hello, and Luke Greenia. Hello to Phil Stodd. Hello to Barry Klein. And Mark Gaines says hello from Northern Ireland. I also see our friend Buster. Peter Laycock joins us from Scotland with a 10-pound super chat. Says hello, Carey and Mara and Scott and everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland. The temperature in Edinburgh, 51 degrees Fahrenheit or 10.5 degrees Celsius. Wow.
Oh, Lord, I may have to take back that comment about wishing I was in Scotland right now.
That's too chilly. 50's too cold for you?
Yeah. I'm a Texas boy.
Oh.
It drops below 70. I'm like, I need a jacket.
You know, I'm from Detroit originally, so 70's like, that's shorts and t-shirt.
Yeah, you're one of those people.
So, yeah, one of those. That's not the first time I've heard that, but not in that regard.
Yeah.
Barry Klein joins us with a $10 super chat. He says, we wait with bated breath. Okay, there's a fishing joke in there somewhere. Charlie Purdy contributes $10 in super chat, says hello, Carey, Scott, and Mara, and everyone in the chat. Welcome in, Charlie. Good to see you. And we're looking forward to having interaction with our chat room today. So if you guys have tech questions between Scott and myself, we should be able to come up with something. Don't you think?
I'm going to give it my best.
Well, we'll make it up as we go.
Right.
So Scott has a YouTube channel. Your Ask Your Computer Guy YouTube channel's been around how long now?
Channel's been around 8 years. I've been producing content on it for 5. So I just kind of sat on it for a few years before I did anything.
Yeah, I did the same thing. My first couple of years, it was just, well, I didn't want to be a regular content creator. I just wanted to produce a specific video that I felt was missing on the platform.
Right.
And then I got a check in the mail about a year later and thought it was a scam.
Right.
And realized it was from the video I posted a year earlier, and then said, I got to make more videos.
Right. Well, let me rephrase. I started the channel in 2017, and I didn't do anything for about a year. And then for 2 years, I did nothing but hardware videos, how to replace screens, how to swap out hard drives, all kinds of stuff like that. And it was getting a lot of traffic, but it wasn't getting a lot of subscribers because it was people coming in, they got what they needed, and boom, they bounced. And so I eventually decided to change the direction of my channel to be more of a all-encompassing novice user, how to do kind of everything, stuff that would be a little more evergreen. And I just I unlisted those 100+ videos that I spent 2 years making, and then just kind of started over from scratch. So that's why it's technically 8 years old, but I've actually only been producing content as Ask Your Computer Guy the way I do it for about 5 years now.
You know, I'm going through a very similar sort of realization that a lot of the content that I have made is no longer viable today. It's,
Right.
how to install drivers on Windows 7. In fact, I'd even say it's dangerous to leave it up. Because it might encourage somebody to do something that I think they shouldn't be doing, and it's not my business. I'm not here to tell them what to do, but I don't need to assist. So,
yeah, I could see that. But then again, if you have somebody out there that is insistent on using Windows 7, then you're helping them. Technically, you're not encouraging them. They know it's probably an older video.
If someone who wants help to do something that potentially cause themselves harm, I just want to stay out of the way. I don't want to be involved. If
but wouldn't that mean that you're constantly removing old content and replacing it with new? I mean,
well, it's the replacing it with new that's the problem,
right?
Like, if I do a review video, like we'll take Amazon, because I have some videos on Amazon as well, and I review a mini computer. Many of the mini computers that I reviewed last year are no longer made. You can't buy it.
Right.
But if I remove a jar opener, which appeals to far more people, is a less expensive video to make.
Right.
And that jar opener is still sold today, and people are looking for jar openers far more than they're looking for computers. That content still generates revenue at a very low cost to make, appeals to a wider audience, and doesn't go bad until that jar opener stops being made.
Yeah, I can see that logic.
But then there's the question of, what do I want to do? Does that bring me joy? Well, it's a novelty for me to make a jar opener video. Do I want to do that full time? I don't want to become, the Ron Popeil of Amazon.
Right.
But somewhere in there, I'm trying to find the balance between the tech side and also the broader appeal of the audience who aren't just into computers, as well as products that aren't just changing every 6 to 12 months, where all the time and money and effort that went into explaining it and describing it now only appeals to a smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller demographic until it fades out entirely. Right. And so what ends up happening is, you get that first couple weeks of YouTube hits, and then after that, it's just straight down
off the cliff. Well, and the upside too is that as that, like you were talking about with the older stuff, there's going to be less and less demand. So you're not really going to get any views anyway.
Right.
But I know you, and you're going to be like, no, if I get 6 views in a year, then those 6 people that I could have given better direction to. So I can understand that.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Because I feel like, I have, and I don't know if you deal with this, but I've had the audience think that things never change. And then they think I'm a hypocrite, or I am self-correcting and not admitting I was wrong. When in fact, I never recommended Rufus for creating a Windows 11 bootable image, because you can do that right through Microsoft. You don't need a third-party tool.
Right.
But when 24H2 came out and started requiring the online account.
Then Rufus became, okay. Yeah.
Then I said, well, now well, Carey, you used to say, well, yeah, because it used to be Windows used to be different.
Right.
So I'm encouraging people. It's this idea that the audience wants you to be stubborn and never grow. They want you to have an attitude and never change. And my whole point of my channel is to help keep up with what's going on, because without help.
Who we are as techs is our core. And part of that's never going to change. Like you and I have had that discussion about, you do some things your way and but we can adapt as need permits. Like you said, with or even now with the unsupported hardware, using Rufus to get around that. That's a good example of how using that third-party tool, which is a trusted tool, can actually be beneficial. So you can still stay true to your core, but you have to adapt to whatever Microsoft's going to throw at you one day to the next.
Or anybody else for that matter. Rufus can change and then suddenly be a crap tool. This is the great thing that keeps me from getting bored for too long, is I get frustrated.
Right.
One or the other. And, we talk about Windows 10 and Rufus and some of the benefits of using that to make your install media. And you have a video that certainly every content creator would love to have, You published a video. In fact, let me see if I can bring it up on the screen here. Let me go. Let's see. I'm trying to think how I'm going to do this. If I click on this link here.
This is one of those be careful what you ask for kind of things.
Well, we'll get into that. Let's talk about it. Let me get over to my window capture. That should show, that shows your channel now, right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
And if you go down one below that, that one right there.
Well, this one here you posted 3 weeks ago. And hey, I know that.
I know that guy.
Oh, you know him too?
Yeah. Looks like Peter Griffin.
Better than you do. Typical YouTube comment.
Right.
3 weeks ago, you've got over 1 million views.
Yeah.
So, right, is it the title? Is it the thumbnail? Did somebody very, very with a large following share it out to their audience? Do you know how that happened, or are you as dumbfounded as I? Not that it doesn't deserve 1 million views.
I don't know. I think the thumbnail helped. But honestly, the thing that really makes me curious as to what happened is because basically that is the same video I have made, gosh, at least 7, 8, 10 times. It's create this installer disk, and here's literally it's almost the same video, I just packaged it differently. And at the beginning of the video, instead of just you need this, it's you have less than 6 months. And I think the initial hook of the video, letting people know, hey, you got 173 days left and you're, SOL. I think that's what helped keep people watching. And then of course the algorithm just did what it did. But no, I've got videos that, they hit 1 million in a year, and I was happy with that. So
Yeah.
to do it in 26 days was just, but with that came over 5,000 comments, which I, believe it or not, I actually went through each individual comment and not only replied to as many as I could. Thankfully, I've got a group of people that volunteered to moderate. Thank God for them, because I couldn't have done it myself. But I went through all of those, responded where I could, and kept pointing people to future videos and so on and so forth. And then what I did is I took the collection of the most asked or most frequently commented ideas and made that into the last video, which is basically the same video, but all your questions answered. So, but yeah, 1 million views. I'll take it. I'm not complaining. Pay off some credit cards this month, but
right. Yeah, for sure.
But oh my God, it's one of those things where you want it so bad, and then when you get it, it's like everything else stops. You got the comments, you got the emails, you got just a gazillion things. People are reaching out on social media, texting you constantly, and for that one person who reaches out on Facebook Messenger and they have a problem, they don't realize that there's 37 other people today that have asked a question. And if I don't get back to them in 3 days, they're like, oh, he's ignoring me. So it's kind of that whole, it's great when it happens, but I would have probably liked it to be not as popular so I could continue doing what I do without feeling overwhelmed by one video. So, and now on top of that, I got to try to duplicate it,
right.
So it's, it's a never ending catch-22.
It certainly makes me think about how somebody that's a movie star never gets a break from this, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
This is a taste of it, and it's this overwhelming. Imagine you're Paul McCartney or Tom Cruise, and you just can't go anywhere on the planet by yourself.
Or Linus or MKBHD. I mean, can you imagine them?
Well, to some extent, that's true too.
I mean, everybody, anybody, even if you're not a tech guy, you probably know Linus or Marquez. I mean, can you imagine them trying to go to Walmart? Thank God nobody but my hairstylist knows me, and my wife, of course. But yeah, I mean, it's
get stopped in the street. People don't go, "Hey, aren't you?"
No,
really.
I
had it happen a couple of times, and the first thing I learned is to ask them, "Wait, do you like my channel, or are you one of those people
Are you Carey?" That depends.
That depends. Do you like Carey?
I always say, no, that's my twin brother. I get that all the time.
I get that all the time. Yeah.
But when you look like Peter Griffin, it's there is no twin brother.
You don't look like Peter Griffin. I got Peter Griffin on the channel, by the way. Did you ever see my Peter Griffin?
Yeah. It pops up on it. Go to your homepage.
That
And
guy's
I was like, that
fantastic.
dude really looks like Peter Griffin. Yeah.
What's interesting is that guy's backstory was, sort of not fitting in socially, having very low self-esteem,
Right.
and went to some Comic-Con or something, had some green pants. He had a white shirt from a Santa Claus, and I think the glasses were also from a Santa Claus outfit.
Right.
And he started getting all this love and attention from people, turned his life around. It's a beautiful story.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It turned him around.
Wow.
All the
Okay.
rejection that he was feeling and all the social awkwardness, everybody was embracing him as Peter Griffin. And so he,
Just
yeah,
ran with
it's a
it.
great story.
Okay.
Yeah. Get your tissues out.
That's way more interesting than my story.
Oh, I don't know. Let's dig into that. I love how you did the follow-up with the comments, by the way. So Scott releases this video, gets really popular, gets all these comments, 5,000 plus comments. He starts picking out comments, maybe common ones, whatever the logic is, and reads them on air.
Mm-hmm.
This is all edited. This isn't live. So he's got full control of the edit. And the very last comment, and by the way, all sincere and genuine.
So you watched
questions.
that. You watched it all the way to the end. I can tell exactly who watched it because they always have something to say about it.
Well, at the end, I've got to say there's some film director in you here.
A little bit.
You might, well, for sure, because so here he is. He's answering legitimate questions. He's answering them with sincerity, and he's earnest. And then this last comment that he reads is, "You don't know what you're talking about." And without saying a word, you just take off the headphones, turn off the computer,
Turn off
walk
the light.
out of the room, and shut the studio off. And
yeah, and took the recording in progress off my door and everything.
Yeah. Sometimes you say more by saying nothing at all.
Yeah.
That was a powerful thing you did. And I appreciate the editing that was involved in that as well.
Thank you for that. Ironically, it just kind of, when I was editing that last comment, I was kind of thinking, just stare at the screen like, I got nothing. And then it popped into my head, well, hell, I'm done. I'll just leave, right? So I just recorded myself leaving, recorded myself hitting the light switch, recording myself shutting the door and shutting everything down. And I thought, let's just make it fun. Nobody watches to the end except Carey anyway. So,
that was
but it was fun.
It was a very powerful statement you made without using any words. I'm a big fan of that. Like, are you old enough to remember the Far Side comic?
Are you kidding? Gary Larson's? Yes. Yeah. I lived by the Far Side when I was growing up.
I love how he can tell a story with a single frame.
Yep.
And often funny. Like there was one that didn't make it to press. They would not print it. And what it is a baby crib with a snake inside, and the snake has a giant belly and can't get out of the crib.
Okay.
Twisted, and no words, not a single word.
Right.
Or Mr. Bean does a whole episode and doesn't talk, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, that just takes talent.
Well, certainly not one I have. I talk a lot. But someone talked about Mr. Bean, where they asked him if he gets recognized, and he goes, "Yeah, one time at the airport, this guy's looking at me, and he goes, you look just like." And he goes, "Yeah, that's because I am him." And the guy goes, "Yeah, that's hilarious. No, seriously though, you really do look like him." And he's
because
like,
he actually talked, and he was like, "No, it can't be you because you're actually talking." Yeah,
right.
Right.
And, well, or I think the guy's just, and the way he tells the story, the guy's looking at him like real skeptical.
Right.
Just the spitting image of that guy. Well, that's because that's actually me.
Right. Well, and when you look like Rowan Atkinson, you kind of
a pretty unique look.
It's like Steve Buscemi probably gets picked up everywhere because he just has a very specific look.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, long story short, neither you nor I have that to worry about anytime soon. So
hey, speak for yourself.
Hey, but I got a video coming out next week. It might do just as well. I'm excited about it. I don't want to give it away, but it was one of the comments that I got in the 1 million view video. And turns out there's a lot of people out there that have good working Windows 10 machines that they wouldn't mind upgrading to 11. They don't want to pay Microsoft for extended support, but Microsoft's saying that they can't upgrade. So I'm going to show them how they can absolutely do that without spending $1.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
And I mean, I know what I know. And I don't mean to ever imply that what I know is better than what anybody else knows. So
Right.
Are you at all concerned? And I'm going to make a few assumptions here.
Okay.
If you were to bypass the Windows 11 requirements, that when Windows 10 support stops, and Microsoft has already made it clear, we're not guaranteeing you're going to get updates on Windows 11 if you bypass the hardware requirements.
Right.
Would that not be a great time for Microsoft to also stop updates for incompatible hardware that Windows 11 was installed on, the same as if you were on Windows 10?
Right. And that's a great point. And that's actually been in some of the research I've been doing. That seems to be one of the things that people are talking about is Microsoft at any point. Well, first of all, upgrading on unsupported hardware can potentially leave you vulnerable later down the road, especially more specifically with software that no longer works on the older hardware. And these are things that I'll address in the video so that everybody has a good, clean understanding of if you do this, you'll have continued Windows updates, but going forward, you might not be able to play Steam, for example. That being said, yeah, I mean, Microsoft can just say, no, and I understand why they're doing. A lot of people think it's a money grab, that Microsoft's just trying to get more money out of people, because if you have to upgrade your machine, then you go buy a new Windows 11 computer. Microsoft gets paid for a license, whatever. But those licenses have pretty much already been paid for by the OEM. So Microsoft's already got paid. Yeah, I think if they did that, I don't think they should do that unless it's a major potential security issue. I don't think they should just do it just because a handful of software programs don't necessarily work anymore. But if it becomes a vulnerability, then yeah, they should pull the plug. And of course, that'll just make everybody even madder at Microsoft than they already are, because then they will either have a choice to no longer play that game or that program, or now they have to go buy a new computer. But I can understand the people. I hear a lot of this in the comments. People are like, I'm just switching to Linux. I'm just done with Microsoft. I'm tired of their money grab. And, and I even addressed it in that video. I'm like, look, let's talk about the big L word here, because, but the one thing that keeps us going is that we never know what Microsoft's going to do from one day to the next. And again, like we talked about earlier, we just have to kind of adapt to it. It gives, if nothing else, it's going to give us more stuff to talk about on our YouTube channel. It's, what does this mean? Because Microsoft is going to do this. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
Well, I see it a little bit differently, but here's the thing. For the customers that you have in real life, do you service any customers that use anything other than Windows 10 or 11? Anything older, for example, Windows 7?
Okay, let's clarify the comment, the question. Anybody that's connected to the internet? No, yeah. No. Okay. I do have some XP and Windows 7 clients that they just use offline for database entry and things like that. I'm like, yeah. As long as you don't connect it to the internet, you're fine. I may have one or two that are still using Windows 8.1, and no matter what I do, they won't switch off of it. I'm like, okay, I can't help you, but when something happens, you were warned. So
right
there you have it.
Okay, so we're on the same page on that. But yeah. Where I'm kind of steering this is that when Windows 7 support ended, it's not like Windows 7 just stopped working and everybody right. The next day was running Windows 8.
Right.
And it just kind of fades away slowly for various right. reasons. Computer dies and you can't sure. buy a new computer with Windows 7 anymore.
Sure.
Or a piece of software, as you mentioned.
Ironically, I got to go see a client tomorrow whose Windows 7 computer finally died. And they're like, can we get another computer with Windows 7 on it? And I'm like, how do I handle this? Because I don't know. I'm real conflicted. I'm pushing them towards buying new. Here's what's going to cost to fix the old. If your data's gone, then that saves you money from, I can understand both sides of the coin, but you would not believe the comments in that last video. How many people are like, I'm still running Windows 7. I love it. F Microsoft. Yeah. And I'm like, well, okay. But that's all good and fine until you get a potential hack or, a vulnerability exploited by somebody who's scanning a range of addresses and happens to find yours. It's unpatched. And now all of a sudden you might not be in love with Windows 7 anymore, so.
It's playing with fire, right? Oh, I've been playing with fire my whole life. I've never been burned. Whatever happened to that guy? Oh, he got burned up in a fire.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a common misconception. And I hear this all the time. It's a common misconception. They're like, well, I don't do anything. I don't go, I go to the same 6 websites. I don't go surfing weird places. I don't go download torrents. I don't do all that stuff. And I'm like, it's not about what you do. It's about what your software isn't doing while you're not doing anything. And all it takes is for that one vulnerability to be breached. A very good phishing email or a very attractive, dodgy website. And
how about an exploit in a Windows service that your antivirus and firewall can't protect you from, that isn't getting patched, that you don't know anything about, and you think, well, I don't do anything dangerous online, and within milliseconds, it's already over.
Right. Well, and I kind of equate it to that, I consider myself a pretty good driver. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to get into a car accident driving to the grocery store.
I can still hit you with my car, even if you do everything right.
Exactly. I could be completely behaved and still be screwed. But you can't, what are you going to do? You're going to tell these people, okay, I can't be your computer guy anymore because you refuse to listen to me.
I do.
I know you do.
I'm trying to protect my business.
I know. And you have to do it in a way that reduces your liability. 100%.
That's it, because America, everybody wants to sue over everything all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to be a lawyer. I don't want to spend my time in a courtroom. I want to spend my time working on computers.
Right. Yeah. No, I completely, from a liability standpoint, I completely get it. And a lot of times with these clients, I don't think I will turn them away unless they are just an absolute disaster waiting to happen. But usually I'm pretty good at, because they trust me to point them in the right direction. And so, I'm going to say, look, a lot of times I just make it a money thing. Is, you're going to spend $300 doing this and be potentially in harm's way, or you could spend a little bit more, be protected. Everything's exactly where it needs to be. And for at least the next 3, 4, 5 years, you don't have anything to worry about. And isn't that a couple $100 extra worth it? But some people you just can't convince. And that's where I sometimes run into a problem, like this one tomorrow, where I got to convince him I can't just go put another Windows 7. I mean, I could, he's got a valid license. There's no reason I couldn't, but they've trusted me for years to take care of them. And when I tried to upgrade them from 7 to 10, they didn't want any part of it. Because they watched a video about Windows 10. They're like, I hate it. I don't like it. So, okay, do what you got to do. My job's to back up your data. I'm kind of washing my hands of you. So I don't know. And again, this is just one of those moral dilemmas that we all kind of go. I know you're probably a little more hard-nosed about saying, no, I refuse to help you. And that's tough, knowing they're going to go to the shop right around the corner who will do it without question, because they just want the money, and I admire your integrity. I appreciate that. It just makes it tough. It makes it tough.
It's something I like to do. Right. But at the same time, working, what's the word? Cutting my teeth as an IT person was at big corporations with tens of thousands of employees, like Intel, like the government, like the power company here in Arizona, the biggest power company. In fact, I worked at both power companies, and there's a bureaucracy to it, and there are rules, which at first I thought were ridiculous. They're just getting in the way of progress. I could do this so much faster if I didn't have all this paperwork, but without the paperwork, somebody else gets hired. They don't know what you did. And maybe you decide you want to go around the rules and do things your way. And now there's a consequence later after you are already gone. that
Right.
somebody else now has to come in and clean up your mess. And
Yeah.
now this is costing the company thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of
Right.
dollars, depending on the severity of the discretion.
Right. Well, and
And
that's why it's called an audit trail. It's there for a purpose. It's
so
so that you can see.
but I'm treating everybody the same. I'm saying
Yeah.
if these are the rules at a corporate company, then these are the rules for you as an individual.
Right.
Because they're protecting way more than you need to protect.
Right.
Okay. So,
Right.
and if you don't want to do that, that's your choice.
Right.
But here's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned that something bad happens that's out of my control that I assisted with. I helped them lose their identity, or I in some way was what's it called in hockey when one player helps another player score an assist. I don't want the assist.
Right.
I don't want any sort of connection to me as a consequence because I coddled and abated their request, which I personally find to be based on fear and not actual experience. So what I do is I say, look, and I tell the customers just that I have a professional organization. I have to protect it. I have to protect all my other customers.
Right.
I also don't want you to think that when something bad happens, it's because of me. So I have these policies. I have these rules.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you don't like them, that's your choice.
Right.
And if you realize later you need help because you went the wrong way, I will help you. Call me back. It's not personal.
Right.
I will help you clean up the mess if that happens.
Yeah, you have to isolate yourself. You have to isolate yourself because your business and your reputation is ultimately what matters. I've kind of, thankfully, I haven't had to worry about that a whole lot. Because like I said, there's only a handful of people that still have Windows 7. But now that Windows 10 is going end of life, I'm going to need to start having those conversations with people. And, I don't know if it means, I mean, you could still keep their business and make them sign a waiver that you have fully informed them of the potential liabilities. But then if something does happen, then you have to get into a legal battle of whether what you warned them about is actually what happened. And this is a big hot mess, so I could understand
a waiver doesn't necessarily mean it's legal. So I have to go to a local attorney for verify that the phrasing and wording is correct. Lawyer understands what I'm trying to protect myself against.
Right.
And then you'll be with an attorney and a judge, and it's all way more money that I would need to spend in time to avoid mitigating how much damage or removing the damage. There's always going to be damage. Even if I win, I still have attorney's costs. I still have, it just goes on and on and on, all the lost labor hours. So for me personally, I'm not a litigious person. I'd rather just walk away and think I got away cheap.
So let me ask you this regarding I know the Windows 7 thing is we kind of agree that's so far in between. It's like turning one or two people away a year. It's not the end of the world. But with Windows 10 going end of life, that's not just one or two people. So obviously you would want to push them to either upgrade to the 11 if they can, through Windows updates. Like your machine is supported. PC Health Check says you can upgrade to 11. You need to do that, or go buy a new machine with Windows 11 preloaded, or buy the ESU at least for a year and then kind of reevaluate, because maybe in a year you might be ready for a new computer. What direction I would assume that you would probably say, if you can get the free 11 upgrade, do that, right? That would probably be your first go-to.
Yes, but I don't think I would do it that way. I think it's the approach. Instead of the focus being on the operating system, I prefer to put the focus on what the customer's needs are. So what do you need the computer to do?
Right.
And is this, are you planning to sell the business this year so you don't really care about putting any more investment in your infrastructure?
Right.
Or do you plan on continuing to be in business indefinitely and maybe even grow the business? Or even if it's a personal computer at home, right? Are you still relying on this computer to pay your bills? If it wasn't available to you, would you be distressed?
Right.
Okay. So that's the first thing. Second thing is there resistance to Windows 11?
Yeah.
If there is, please show me what the resistance
Right.
is.
Why?
So talk to me, show me, and I
Right.
will show you how to get past that. But
Right.
if it's all just in here,
Yeah.
I have no time for that nonsense. If you can actually show me a legitimate reason why you cannot use Windows 11, I will help you over that obstacle.
Right.
But if your obstacle is in here,
Right.
I mean, if I could take
Somebody
out my
watched a
screwdriver-
video. Somebody watched a Windows 11 video and said, "Nope, I don't want that." Well, that's not doing your research. That's
well,
not
then
actually.
my advice is, why don't you ask them for help? In other words, you came to me, but you want to tell me what somebody else said.
Right.
So why aren't you? And I don't mean that offensively. I'm just logically like, why? Somebody else told you to do something, and you're going to tell me you want what they're weighted. So then call them.
Call them. Right. It's the same with the mechanic. My friend who's a mechanic said, "Replace this." So I need you. Well, no, that's not the problem. Well,
but I was just saying, if it's in here, and I could, just like a computer, I could get in there and fix that for them. I would. But this is attitude.
We'd have to charge extra for the brain surgery, though.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I want to be helpful, but the first thing I need to understand is, what is the actual problem?
Right.
What is it? And a lot of times it's fear.
Yeah.
FEAR, false expectations appearing real. And it comes from lack of experience, a lack of reference.
Right.
If I tried to explain to you how to ride a bicycle, there's nothing I can tell you.
Right.
You just have to get on the bike. Well, I'm afraid I'm going to fall over. Yeah, and you are going to the first few times.
Right.
How about you kids stay away from the pool until you learn how to swim?
Well, how are you going to learn to swim? Right.
Exactly. So in much the same way, a lot of the concerns about Windows 11 are completely unjustifiable.
Right.
And if they do have a legitimate concern, I'll meet them in the middle. I'll say, I'll tell you what, you want Windows 11? You want Windows 7? Here's what we can do. Let's get you a Windows 11 computer that has enough power to run a virtual machine.
Right.
And we'll load Windows 7 in the virtual machine, and you can just be in Windows 7 in that virtual machine.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what they're going to say. Oh, it's so slow. Well, but that's what you wanted.
Right. That's actually,
we can do whatever you want to do.
That's a great meet you in the middle kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, let's meet in the middle. But if the customer wants to dictate to me how to do my job, that's going to be as successful as me going into Walmart and telling them what prices I'm going to pay. I'm not going to pay this. Or if you take a Windows 7 computer to Geek Squad and ask them, what do you think they're going to tell you?
They're going to say, we can't support this.
Why is it okay for them to do it and not us?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
That's the way I see it. So
I'm not looking forward to the Windows 10 conversations because you know what? And I was the same way. I had Windows 10 on my machine, was happy as a clam, loved it. And then at some point I started getting, and I dabbled, Windows 11 was kind of new, and I had some people that I would work on had Windows 11. So I kind of learned it as I went. And, but I didn't upgrade my own because I'm like, I really like Windows 10. And I'd heard, like you said, all this crap, Windows 11 this, Windows 11 that. And so I just put it off and put it off and and then it became to the point where more computers were coming in that had Windows 11 than had 10. And so I said, I need to upgrade. I need to lead by example. I need to upgrade so that I am not only safe and secure, but also when I show people how to do stuff, I'm showing it in a relevant operating system that's going to be supported for a while instead of this outdated one that, yes, it's better, arguably, but it's going to be out of support. And then, it's the world we live in.
Let me do this. Let me do this to you. Just as an example, what, in your opinion, makes Windows 10 better? Give me one example.
Well, now that I've used Windows 11, I can't say it anymore. But
it's familiarized yourself with the fear went away.
My mentality was just like with Windows 7, Windows XP. It was stable. It never had any issues and whatever. And at first, Windows 11, it literally crapped on me like daily. And then, after time went by, I was like, this is no less stable than Windows 10. it really is pretty. And matter of fact, the more I use it, the more I kind of like it. And I can't believe I said that out loud where people can hear me. But
Well, there's nothing wrong with being honest.
well, and I had a client reach out to me. No, I'm sorry, it was a comment on my YouTube the other day. They said that they upgraded to 11, and then they had to roll back to 10. And this kind of we didn't go far into it, but they said they had to roll back to 10 because their Windows printer driver wasn't available in Windows 11. And I thought, pretty much every printer driver is going to be Windows 10/11. You're not, I mean, if you go choose 10 versus 11 on the download page, most of the time you're getting the same exact driver. And in that case, I was like, okay, that's a legitimate reason to roll back. But being afraid of new, whether you think it's because of Microsoft being money hungry, or you've heard things or whatever, you got to stay with the times. There is going to be a point where Windows 10 is going to be like Windows XP now. And, I don't know. A lot of people are, complaining about the software as a service, but, how there's not going to be a Windows 12 or whatever. But Microsoft also said there would not be a Windows 11. So, take it for what you want.
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
So there was an event.
The original plan was to keep Windows 10 as a software as a service. So basically, they made money off of everything that you did. And then boom, all of a sudden Windows 11 is announced. And I'm sitting here going, you just said, so there's no telling exactly what's going to happen.
So the person who made the comment about Windows 10 was a developer, and it was in reference to what they were developing for. And it got taken out of context. No one officially from Microsoft ever said that. And no one ever confirmed it. But somehow this grew legs. There's weird things that happen in society that never happened.
Yeah.
We think it did. Like Cary Grant never said, Judy, Judy, Judy. Or
right.
Badges. We don't need those thinking badges. There's
right.
more to it. He didn't just say that. Or
the famous one, Houston, we have a problem.
Oh, that never was said?
No, it's Houston. We've had a problem.
Oh, see, there's one I didn't know.
And they screwed that up in Apollo 13. And, so, I mean, it's, you hear what you hear and it gets legs. And now all of a sudden that's the word.
So, but if you Google that, it's a really interesting story about this idea, this cultural phenomenon that everybody seems convinced Microsoft said that, when it was completely taken out of context by the media.
Right.
And if you go and see what was actually said in the context it was stated, it's coming from a developer's point of view and what they're developing for. And they're developing for Windows 10. There's nothing past that that's planned. So that's what we're working, that's as a developer, that's what we're working on, is continuing to develop for Windows 10. But anyway, the whole point of it is that when we get back to like when a viewer says to me, Carey, didn't you say you stay away from Windows 11? I did. But now you're recommending Windows 11. I am. So you're a hypocrite. I'm not.
No,
Every time a brand new operating system comes out, or even something, you know where I'm going, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to let the bugs work themselves out before you start pushing people towards it, because it's going to be, you go with a brand new OS that hasn't really been tested. Truth, Microsoft should do a better job of in-lab testing before they push it out to the public. We can all agree on that. But yeah, I'm same as you. I'm going to usually say at least wait a year and a half, let those updates come, let those patches come. And then when it becomes a little more stable, a little more reliable, then I'll start pushing people towards it.
Same with new CPUs, right? The Intel 13, 14 gen, all that's been worked out.
With the degradation and all that. I saw that on, I think it was Jay's 2 cents the other day.
How about the AMD 9000 CPUs going through the same things?
Yeah.
All right. Very similar.
Right.
It's all brand new stuff. If you want that latest and greatest, you're going to pay more for it.
Right.
There's a good chance you're going to wait in a line to get it. And then you're going to deal through all of the bugs. And we all thank you for that, so that we don't have to do it when we buy it a year later and it's a fraction of the price you paid. There's plenty of inventory, so there's no lines to wait in. And it just works now. When the Ryzen processors first came out, tons and tons of RAM incompatibility problems. The CPUs weren't running at their advertised speeds.
Right.
And this isn't a hammer on AMD. The same is true with any brand new product. You buy a car, a first year Ford Bronco, the first year they came out, you got a few recalls, right? But now you buy one, and most of that's been sorted.
Yeah,
so
that's why I'm never the first one out of the box to go get new toys, because
I will be, but I won't make my customer a guinea pig. Like the reason I'm buying it is to determine whether or not I can feel comfortable recommending it to a customer.
Right.
So, but that's just it, right? There's
Windows
11's been out, what, 4 years?
Yeah.
And while Windows 10 is actually there's more Windows 10 computers in use today than Windows 11.
Right.
It is losing
market
the numbers
share.
They're not going up. They're going down.
Right.
Windows 11 is going up. And now I think, I'm not quite sure, but I can't help but wonder what's going on in the minds of people that insist on telling you their preference. Like, in other words, well, I'm going to Linux. Well, okay, I never said you couldn't. Well, I'm staying on Windows 7. Okay, I don't know who you're telling.
Some people just want to be defiant. They just, I don't need this information. I'll do what I want. And then why are you, you know how many times I look at my comments, I'm like, why are you even on my channel? I mean, this not for you.
Right.
But everybody has to be that one guy that's going to convince you, oh, you're right, I need to shut down my channel and go back to Windows 7. And just
I'm gonna go onto a vegan channel and talk about how much I enjoy meat. Like, read the room. I don't know. It baffles me. Like, I mean, I don't even know who you are, but you're leaving a comment like I would care, and it matters to me. All I'm trying to do is look out for you. But you can look out for somebody.
Right.
There's a joke that always comes to mind where there's floods. It's raining and the flood's coming. The water's rising.
Right.
And a boat comes and says, "Hey, we're here to rescue you. Get on the boat."
Right.
The guy says, "No. Do you know this joke?"
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so
then he ends up on the roof, and the helicopter comes, and he's like, I sent a boat. I sent a helicopter. Right.
And he dies. He drowns because he turns it all away. This is for the people who don't know the joke.
Right. Okay. Go for it.
And I'll just shorten it, where the guy goes to heaven and he meets God, and he says, I thought you were going to save me. He kept turning away these rides, saying, no, God will save me. And God says, I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. There's 3 different ways I tried to save you, and you wouldn't take any of the help. So, okay. So another thing was, there's an episode of Rick and Morty where this guy is sort of feels like he's stuck in like he's contained.
All right.
And he has enough of it. And he says, you know what? And he starts storming out of the room. He says, I'm leaving. And the person that's in charge, like guarding the door, says, okay, that was always allowed. Like he was only stuck in his head. The idea that he couldn't leave never was stated. He just somehow came to that conclusion.
Yeah.
Until he finally said, I've had enough and I'm leaving and you can't stop me. And they're like, you could have left at any time. So in any event, so Windows 10, it expires, the support ends on October 14th. What I've told my clients is, I don't see any reason we have to panic or rush. Certainly not till the first of the year. I think you'll be okay in November and December. But I think January 1st, 2026, it would be very unwise. And they're free to do whatever they want. But I'm also got to protect my business. So every single one of my clients has no problem. In fact, what I would normally do is say, look, let's do one computer. And let's see if we have any problems. And if there are problems, let's see if we can get past them.
Right.
If there are problems we can't get past, then I will support you on Windows 10. And that's never, ever been a thing in the past. Like, there's never been a scenario in the history of me doing this where somebody came up with a legitimate reason that they could not upgrade. It's no longer a financial thing for most people. Computers are so cheap.
Well, you know what would make it better for us? is if when Microsoft released a new operating system, there was some positive advantage to it. There was performance. There was new feature. Windows 11 for the most part I've seen is just cosmetic. There's really not a whole lot of performance differences that I have noticed. Maybe a little bit better memory management, but for the most part, and ironically that all the Windows 10 commands, even running stuff like Windows 7 control panel, you can still do all that stuff. It's basically just lipstick on a pig. If you really want people to switch to 11, make 11 like you made Windows 7 back in the day. It was like so revolutionary, so good. Everybody wanted it. We wouldn't be having this conversation. They'd sell 1 billion machines because everybody was rushing to get Windows 11. But,
But that's only because what was before it was so terrible.
Yeah, what's with that every other year crap?
Right. So Windows 11, here's where I think people are missing the boat on Windows 11.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on the security behind the scenes. So you're not being bothered with it. So somebody says, I don't like how difficult it is for me to enable a share on my network. Why did Microsoft do this to me? What a terrible company. Right. It's like you do realize that when you plug that Ethernet cable in, you're connecting to the entire world, including countries that don't like you.
Right.
They don't like you because you're American or because you're a Westerner, and they're going to attack you, and they're going to use the latest and greatest to attack you. Yep. And you have a sharpened stick that you've been using for 400 years to defend yourself against your enemies. Right. And your enemies now have laser guided missiles.
Right.
And you think you're going to go out onto that battlefield seriously with your old trusty sharpened stick. Hey, my sharpened stick doesn't break down. It doesn't have electronics. It's reliable and it always works. And it has worked for 400 years. Do you see how ridiculous that sounds?
Yeah.
So because you can't see what's going on in the background in security, that has the TPM requirement. It has these other requirements. Plus there's some, I'm told, some advantages in gaming performance and how, I don't know.
Right.
Something to do with, I want to say DirectX, but it's beyond DirectX.
Right.
It's processing now. It doesn't affect me.
Right. Same, because I'm not a gamer, so I wouldn't know.
I mean, I'm a gamer, but Galaga, Donkey Kong, Centipede, Dig Dug, Zaxxon. Anyway, and then I wonder at what point does it cross over to just become the old man yelling, "Get off my lawn!" Yeah. I feel like a lot of people today, if they haven't personally experienced it, they don't understand the weight of the words. So when their identity is taken from them, and when their computer or if their data all gets encrypted with ransomware that you must pay this much by this date, they don't think it's going to happen to them. I'm too smart for that. I don't make those mistakes, but we all do. And I'll tell you, I had one guy, great guy, by the way, super nice guy, intelligent guy. Very rarely heard from him. Just had a home business, bought a computer from me. He calls me in the midst of the crazy holiday season. He goes, "Hey, I just got this message on my screen that your computer's been encrypted and you have to pay $500 in 3 days." And I said, "Ooh, well, what I would do is just wipe the drive and recover from the backup.
Right.
You don't need to try and remove that. It's just a waste of time."
Right.
And he goes, "Well, here's the thing about the backup. You recommended this backup drive back in April, and I bought it, and I made my backup."
And he left it plugged in.
No. Remember, this is the holiday season. We're in mid-December.
Okay.
He bought the backup drive and used it in April, and then unplugged it and hasn't touched it since. I said, "Well, I mean, we can go back to April, but that means everything you did from April to December is gone. Are you going to be okay with that?" He goes, "Well, I started writing a book."
Oh, God.
He said, "Well, what?" I said, "Look, you really only have one choice. The cheapest way for you out of this is to pay the $500. And he says, but I don't have $500.
Right.
This guy lives in a 4,000 square foot home next door to the ex-CEO of Intel in a very exclusive neighborhood with one of those U-shaped driveways.
Right.
I pull up there. He's got a grand piano in the living room with those tower windows that look out.
He didn't have $500.
$500. Well, interesting.
But there's no guarantee that if he did pay that, he would get a legitimate key. That's
True.
part of the reason everybody says don't pay for ransomware, because not only that, even if you do get a legit key, all you're doing is encouraging the people who do that to continue doing that.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
But you weren't wrong. It's $500 to get your book
over,
back.
Right? $500. Presumably, you get the key, then back your stuff up, and make sure the computer's clean. And
right.
I said, "What happened?" He goes, ordinarily I'm very careful about things, and I'm in such a rush. I'm under so much pressure. I stupidly clicked on a link in email. I knew better not to do it, like a PDF file or something. He knows exactly what he did. And as he was doing it, he was like, oh, wait. And it happens to all of us. That's why we make backups. You never know. And now that you don't have a backup that's current, you sort of tied my hands. I mean, if you want me to come get your computer and reinstall Windows in the drivers and put Microsoft Office back on, you're looking at around $200 to $300.
Right.
And on top of that, we got to set up your printer and your email. We got to go through a lot of labor.
Right.
Versus $500, and you can have it right now.
Right.
So he says, well, maybe I'll talk to my neighbor who used to be the CEO of Intel and see if he has any recommendations. And I said, I think that's a great idea. So he calls me back a couple of days later and he says, well, I talked to Craig Barrett, dropping names for the nerds.
Right.
And he recommended this company that came out to my house and said, if they couldn't remove the virus, they wouldn't charge me. He goes, Carey, those guys were here 6 hours. I go, they came out to your house, worked on your computer for 6 hours. Yep. And they couldn't remove it. And I said, so you didn't pay them? He goes, nope, they didn't charge me. I go, man, that's got to be a hard business model to sustain.
Right.
If we just got really quiet. Like, how could you do that to somebody else? How could you live in such lavishness and let somebody toil and not throw them a nickel? And ultimately just came back to what I told him. In the meantime, that 72 hours had ticked down to nothing. Now paying the ransom was not on the table anymore. They retracted the offer. We're done with you.
Wow.
I said, so what did you end up doing? He goes, well, I ended up just reformatting, reinstalling Windows and starting over. And I just figure I'll have to rewrite those chapters again. And maybe they just weren't good enough. And there's a higher power at play that wants me to rewrite them.
Yeah, no, it's you're an idiot and you clicked on a link. It has nothing to do with higher power.
Well, he's a super nice guy. I wouldn't say, I know what you're saying.
Right.
You obviously wouldn't say it, but you're thinking, oh, so now we're just justifying that's what God wants.
I was gonna let go and let God. Just stop clicking on bad links and you won't have that problem. But
well, and again, he's never clicked on a bad link before.
Right.
Just that once, and that changed everything. And I don't think he's done it since.
Yeah.
So that's the uphill battle, is this idea that it's not going to happen to me. I'm smarter than that.
Right.
But we all have these distractions and discretions that, well, I wouldn't have, I thought I was curious, or I wasn't thinking, I had kids, or somebody was on the phone. And anyway.
Well, hey, we've all gotten bit at one point,
for sure.
It happens. It happens.
But we also have a backup plan, right? We have a contingency no matter what happens.
Barry's got a good question. So does he now do backups?
Does he do backups?
Right.
Maybe you can identify with this, but in my world, if I'm not hearing from a customer,
that's a good thing.
It usually means there's no problems.
Right.
I don't know if he makes backups now.
Once you've educated them, if you don't hear from them again, or at least for a while.
Well, and I didn't educate him. I mean, he kind of did it to himself, right?
Right.
Peter, joining us from Amsterdam, contributes €1. Thank you, Peter. Also, we had a very generous contribution come in while we were talking. Our good friend and a friend of the channel and member of the channel, Charlie Purdy, sends us a very nice Amazon gift card. He says, this is for the channel and the community. Great guest this stream. I agree.
I wish I had my Peter Griffin impersonation down pat, because I would thank him in that voice, but I'm no Seth MacFarlane, so we'll just say thank you, Charlie.
Now, if you guys have questions for us or concerns or counterpoints that you'd like to make in the chat, please do, and we'll put your comment or question up on the screen, and I'll take the leash off of Scott.
NMFP. All right,
I have had clients who have gone against my advice. I mark them.
I think I know what that means. Not my
problem.
Right?
That's what I like to hear is not my circus, not my monkeys.
I say that at least once a week. Seriously.
Have you had any interesting actual client repairs this week?
You know, I have, thankfully, I didn't have any. Well, a couple, nothing interesting, typical stuff. But thankfully, for the last couple of weeks, I haven't had really anything to work on, which that little lull was really good for me, because I've been dealing with that backlash from that video.
Yeah.
And now it's been a month, and I got 3 calls this morning, so I'm going to be busy the rest of the week. So nothing exciting. Just I did have one. Guy brought me a Dell laptop, and it'd been a friend and a client for, gosh, probably 10, 12 years. Easy. Never hear from him. He brings me the laptop, and first thing I notice is that the bottom cover is about that far from the keyboard cover, and just kind of on one side. And I'm like, what happened? Did you drop it? And he's like, no, look at it. I kind of peek up and look, and that battery has blown up about that big. And so the first thing I did, this is a funny story. The first thing I did is like, okay, let me first figure out what's going on. Took the machine apart, and I'm literally at here at my desk doing, this is no lie, I'm literally at here at my desk unscrewing that battery from the mounts. And I got my hand here because I'm like, this isn't pretty, but I kind of need it for my job, right? So I'm like, if it blows up, I at least want to keep the battery acid, all that. So I'm doing this. I finally get that battery out, and I'm walking outside. I'm literally taking this thing out to my garage like it's a plutonium, right? I go set it on top of my old Blackstone that I don't use anymore, and I took a big metal chafing dish and put it right over top of it, because I'm like, if this thing blows up, I don't want it killing everybody in sight, right? Yeah, that was pretty interesting, because then I was like, yeah, you need a new battery. This one's totally dead. So
what more can you tell me about that laptop? Who made it, and approximately how old was it?
It's a Dell Inspiron X360, approximately 6 years old, 7 years old.
And
it's an 8-core i7. It's a good machine. Got a 256 gig M.2. I mean, it when it worked. And I don't, obviously I don't know what the battery did, but obviously it did something. But yeah, I mean, it was a good machine, parts wise.
If somebody were going to buy a new laptop,
yeah,
what sort of heads up would you give them with regards to typical battery life, when they should expect to replace that on average?
As far as replacing a battery,
just that it just doesn't hold a charge much anymore.
Yeah, well, and it's right, and it's just like your cell phone. They don't, even though they don't technically have a memory, you do every now and then need to unplug and let it, and then charge it back up to full. You don't have to do that every day, but some people literally leave the battery in their machine on a desk and leave it plugged in 24 hours a day. And then when they want, instead of that 3.5 hour battery life that they originally got, now it's hour and a half. And then if you got screen brightness and you're streaming or playing something on a CD or whatever, it goes even lower. It's a relatively inexpensive replacement. So, I tell people, I was like, look, you can, every couple of years, you might need to drop $30 to, on just a brand no name battery if you want that battery life, or get in the habit of maybe just use your laptop battery every now and then to help keep it full of charge. Because sometimes they'll last 4, 5, 6 years, no problem. Sometimes they
But
last.
at this point, the one you're describing is already about 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah, it had never been replaced, but
So
when it
even
started,
in the best case scenario,
yeah, he told me he told me it had been like that for a couple months, and so I was like, you've been using it like this for a couple months. I didn't want to scare him, but I'm like, do you have any idea what would happen if that battery decided to blow?
yeah. Did you try to get on an airplane and put that laptop through TSA?
Oh man, thank God, no, right? But yeah, so anyway, so crisis was averted. But yeah, I mean, it depends. I personally would, if I, like I got laptops running all the time, and they're running pretty much 24/7, but I don't charge myself labor. So if I need a new battery, I just drop a $30 battery in there, and boom, done. But it depends on how, if you're going to use the laptop off charger frequently, then don't leave it sitting on a desk for a month between trips. Just like you do with your cell phone. Just sometimes you got to unplug it and use it for a while to keep that battery life. Unfortunately, there's no real guideline. Sometimes you get batteries that are good, and sometimes you get batteries that are crap. It just depends.
But there's an average, and I would say any customer that buys a laptop, regardless if they've discharged and recharged or they leave it plugged in, you will be replacing this battery about every 5 years.
Yeah.
Whether
his lasted 7. So
there you go. So that's how they got extra. Don't complain.
Right.
You got further than most people.
Right.
That's what I would tell clients.
But he also uses his laptop on battery a lot. He runs a construction business, a lawn care business, so he's constantly out and about, and he relies on that battery power. So maybe there is some correlation there between using it on battery and the battery lasting a while. But when she was ready to go, she died. Thankfully, nobody else died. So there's that.
True. And I had a client bring me a pretty nice older XPS 13-inch, little slim light laptop. And he said, it won't turn on anymore. And I know it's the battery. And I said, well, how do you know it's the battery? And he goes, I just know. I said, well, here's the deal. Without me diagnosing it, and if we replace the battery and it doesn't fix the problem, I still have to charge you for the labor in the battery.
Right.
And he says, I don't have a problem with that. I know it's the battery. I said, okay. I said, I'm looking on Amazon. I'm like, if I were you, I wouldn't buy one of these knockoff batteries.
Right.
You really like this laptop. You use it a lot.
Right.
So why don't you get the actual Dell battery? He says, well, Dell said I couldn't get it. So I said, well, hold on. And I Googled it, went right to Dell. There it is. I said, I'm going to send you a link.
Right. And
then you pay for it. When it arrives, you let me know, because I had to go out of town. It was going to be like 3 weeks. Then I'm not charging you anything for the battery. Right. You're paying whatever the price is, and without any add-on. And then, if there's any issue, it's your. And I said, with a laptop where the battery's gone out, it's usually a good time to replace your laptop. And he goes, well, it's just the battery though, and it's a nice laptop. I said, I get it, but this is how it all starts. It starts with the battery, and then it'll be something else. And then at some point you're going to say, geez, for the amount of money and the amount of inconvenience, I could have just bought a new laptop, had a brand new warranty, and got it in an hour, or the next day if I ordered it.
Right.
He goes, no, I understand that. It's fine. It's never caused a problem, right? This is the first time I've ever had. Okay, so battery comes in, I replace the battery, give it back to him. He's a happy guy. About 10 months goes by. He goes, my screen won't light up anymore.
Uh-oh.
But my son came over, plugged a monitor into it, and it's working fine. So apparently, I guess the backlight is out. So this customer is more knowledgeable than most, and I think he's right. And I said, well, I don't really do backlight replacements. It's just not, I don't have any experience with it. And then, the cost of the backlight and the labor, and it's a very delicate laptop. It's an XPS. It's small. Plastic is getting brittle on it because it's older. Clips will break. I'm sure you can find somebody that can do that, but I'm not comfortable doing that work. And do you really want to spend money now on a backlight when I was suggesting before you replace it? Because, it's going to be something else.
Right. You're going to end up spending the cost of a new one to fix an old one.
Plus all the inconvenience being without it. and then no new warranty.
No warranty, right?
You
Exactly.
get a new screen, you get a faster processor, you probably get faster.
New battery.
You get a new battery. Good point.
Right.
So that's the dice he wanted to roll. I gave him the heads up. He heard me. That's all I asked, because you heard me. And he made his decision. And then when it happened, it wasn't a reflection on me, right?
Right.
He didn't say, well, you should have warned me, you know.
I did. Yeah.
So,
Matter of fact, I've done that before. Seriously, no lie. Because I text with my clients. So where we live, texting is no big deal. And I'll literally keep all these text messages, and I will literally go find it where I want, because I'll tell them in person. But then when I leave, just as a follow-up, so you understand what I told you, XYZ. And then I went back and I found it. I screenshot it with the time and date and sent it to him. Didn't hear another word. And then like 3 days later, he's like, okay, can you help me buy another computer? Because, it is what it is.
Yeah. And they're free to do whatever they want to do. But I have my limits too. Like, here's a message from our friend Marco. He says, I had a client who, without asking me, bought a $2,000 Mac to run his office.
Mm-hmm.
So the software that the customer uses doesn't support Mac, and I had to end up installing Parallel and Windows XP, which was slow as molasses in Minnesota in wintertime. I guess that molasses runs pretty slow in Minnesota in wintertime. But you do what you can.
I got several clients. I did one this week that I was like, she texted me through or Facebook Messenger. She's like, hey, I need you to fix my computer. And I'm like, oh, you're still alive, right? And she went and bought a freaking Mac. And I don't
What kind of a Mac was it? A freaking Mac?
Oh, it was a friggin' Mac. Well, it's always friggin' Mac because I can't make any money off of them. Now, thankfully, I know a guy here locally that doesn't know PC. All he knows is Mac. So he sends me any PC work, and mostly it's me sending him Mac work. But I'm like, I know the guy. He's done work for me. He's done work for my customers. I trust him. His credit's good with me. So I'm like, here, call him. But she's like, are you sure you can't fix it? I'm like, I could, but the amount of time it would take for me to figure it out, you're better off going over here. So yeah, and sometimes they do that. Because their daughter has a Mac, and their daughter won't shut up about their Mac. So what do? They go buy a Mac. Yeah,
that happens to you too, huh?
Oh yeah.
I had a customer one time. I'll never forget this. We used to have I don't know if you guys heard of Fry's Electronics.
Oh yeah, they're big.
We had a few of those out here. And I was trying to save my customer money. I'm a terrible salesman. Customer calls me, they're having some networking or Wi-Fi issue. And I go, you can go to Fry's Electronics and you can buy this make and model of router. It's a good value. It'll be appropriate for what you need. And I think you're going to be happy with it.
Right.
And just plug it in and follow the instructions. And if you run into any problems, call me and I'll help. Right. So I'm basically not making any money from this. I'm just trying to do what I feel is the right thing. Customer calls and says, I can't get the thing to work. And I start asking some questions. And come to find out, they didn't buy the router I suggested they buy. So once I realized, wait, this isn't right. What did you buy? And they name a different manufacturer and a different model. I go, did they not have the one in stock that I recommended? Why did you change? Oh, well, when I was in the aisle, another customer said, what are you buying that piece of junk for? You should buy this one.
Right.
I said, okay. And did they give you their name and number so you can call them now that it's not
seriously working? Right.
And they go, well, what do you mean? Like, they got kind of like, bristle. How could you talk to a customer like that? Like, you called me.
Right.
You asked me what I recommend.
Right.
And for no apparent reason, you believed an entirely different stranger who doesn't know you or your situation, went against my advice, and now you want me to fix a problem you would have never had. Do you understand how disrespectful that is?
Right.
I don't think I've ever heard from that customer ever again, but I'm okay with it. Like, it was so offensive to me. I was helping you. I didn't charge you. I was telling you how to save money, and you believed a stranger in the networking aisle.
Not to mention, that the reason, I'm guessing, the reason you specifically recommended this router is because it's relatively idiot proof. You plug it in, you just follow the steps 1, 2, 3, and you're up, versus a Netgear or a Nighthawk router that requires all kinds of bachelor degrees to figure it out. This one is simple, and now you want
Well,
it
it's not just
irritates me.
that. It's not just that. It's my familiarity, right? So if I'm trying to walk you through something that I've never seen before,
Right.
I don't know where to tell you to go or what to click on and what the process is. If you'd have bought the one I recommended, from my experience, you probably wouldn't need to call me. But if you do, I know I got this, because just in case, I've seen them, dozens of them. And I also know that the price they're paying for what they're getting is, in my opinion, the best of all the options out there, that there is no better option. Right. Anything more expensive, you're overpaying for what you need. Anything less expensive, you're not going to be happy with it. It's not going to last as long. It's going to be more complicated to set up. And, our customers buying printers, and they buy the printer at Fry's Electronics, and then they bring it home. They can't hook it up, and they want to call me and ask me how to hook up the printer. I didn't recommend that printer to you. Well, can you tell me how to hook it up? It's $125 if you need me to come out there and hook it up. Right. Well, it's a $65 printer. Yeah, that's why if I were you, I'd take it back.
Hold that thought, because my wife and I have a ritual when she gets off work every day. So this may be the first shot of tequila ever done on Carey Holzman's channel, but I always toast my bride when it's time to end the day. Oh God. Oh, take that away. Okay.
I'm a bit of a tequila aficionado myself. I have to know, is that a Añejo? Is that a Blanco? Is it a Reposado?
It is okay. So this conversation is going to go a whole different way. It is a Reposado, as you can see.
So you don't like you like it mildly aged.
I have my collection up here of my favorite bottles. I like it aged. Reposado is my preference. I like a chilled Reposado.
It's got to be chilled.
I can't drink that room temperature crap. I just can't.
You and me both.
I will drink Blanco if somebody else is paying for it. I will also drink Añejo if someone else is paying for it. On my budget, it's I drink Lunazol. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Lunazul. Lunazol. For me, it's a great kind of middle of the road. It's not Cuervo and it's not 1800. It's just kind of right in the middle. And my wife likes it, so that's what we get.
I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to that. So if I'm going to drink a tequila, I want it to be a good one. And so
as much tequila as I drink, I can't afford to be picky.
Well, that's what happened. I had a friend come over one time, and I'm not a big drinker. So I have these old bottles of liquor laying around that are getting dusty. And I'm like, I want an excuse to go buy some new liquor.
Right.
So I'll invite my friend over who loves to drink and say, here, would you like to come over and finish these bottles off?
Right.
And he comes over and he finished off this bottle. And I said, do you realize you just drank a $60 bottle of Cabo Wabo?
Oh, shit.
And he looks at me like I'm crazy. You paid $60 for a bottle of tequila. I'm like, yeah, it's really good tequila. You don't mix.
It would have been if I had drank it. I don't know if it's good because.
Well, no, I did drink it. I just didn't drink all of it.
I got you.
I'm a nurser. Yeah, I nurse my drinks. That little shot that would have taken me a half an hour to finish.
Not me. It took me a half a second.
And so anyway, I couldn't understand. Was my friend so poor that was such a crazy thought to him until I saw how many empty bottles were on the table at the end of that 3 or 4 hour visit.
Right.
And then I thought, oh, he's consuming this like crazy.
Oh, yeah, he's not enjoying it.
No, he's not enjoying it. He's not, oh, how do you do? Do you have any Grey Poupon? He's chugging. He's drinking to get drunk, and he goes through it. And I was like, holy moly. Now I understand why his eyes got so big at that, because if it's only going to last you 7 minutes.
Right.
But anyway.
Well, speaking of tequila, we'll wrap this up. But have you ever had Casamigos?
I thought was it Casamigos? I don't know.
It's really good. It's matter of fact, I bought, no, I'm sorry. My stepdaughter, got me and Cindy, a bottle of Casamigos Reposado. It's about 50-ish a bottle. And this was a couple of years ago. And we decided when I hit 10,000 subscribers, we would open the bottle and finish it. So anyway, I was looking for it because I thought I had it around here somewhere, but yeah,
you got to have a million views, on your video in 3 weeks celebration.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, anyway,
I'm bothered when people don't understand the difference between tequila and mezcal.
Oh yeah,
I don't like the worm in the bottle of tequila. That's
not tequila.
That's one thing. And the second thing is,
for you regular people, that's called rot gut.
There's no real regulation there's real strict rules for the manufacture of tequila.
Right.
And not so much with the mezcal.
If there's a worm in it,
it's not tequila.
No.
If it's not made in one of the 5 states of Mexico that it's allowed, it's also not tequila.
Right.
Dan Aykroyd has a vodka company called Crystal Head Vodka, and it's a beautiful skull.
That's Dan's? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's Dan Aykroyd.
Okay.
And, I didn't know that. And Cabo Wabo was Sammy Hagar.
And Santo is Guy Fieri.
Oh,
did you know that?
I remember I just saw him talking about it. I couldn't remember the name of it.
Good stuff.
That's good, is it? All right.
Yeah.
My favorite is Patron. Just give me a Blanco Patron. I'm a happy guy.
Yeah.
But that's why I haven't tried any of the others.
See, this is why we're friends.
Well, there you go. You just get the aged one, and I like the fresh stuff.
I'm surprised we haven't had more questions in here today. It's been quiet today. It's been us just rapping. Nobody has any questions about anything. I'm shocked.
Ray Harrington with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Ray.
Cool. Thank you, Ray.
Let's see.
Last stream, maybe we just answered all the questions from the last one.
We just did.
Right.
You've reached the end of the internet. You've seen every video. You've read every web.
Please wait.
What does it say? Here's a comment from, where did he go?
What's your favorite tequila? Mine or Carey's?
Yours.
Mine? Oh God. Well, that depends on who's buying.
Well, forget money. Money's no object.
There is a little Mexican restaurant that Cindy and I went to a couple months ago. And the guy there, one of the server there was like Mexican, and he knew tequila. and my stepdaughter's boyfriend was just like whatever the guy suggested, he was buying them. He's like, try this, because I know you like tequila. So we're just going shot for shot, right? And the guy's like, oh, you need to try this. It's great. It was called Jaguar, spelled like Jaguar. Okay. Amazing. It was so good. I was like, I don't even want to know how much this costs. And thankfully, her boyfriend was paying the bill. But that was some good tequila. Oh my God!
Did you see the bottle it was in?
I know I didn't.
Because a lot of the bottles on the fancy tequilas are all handmade, hand-blown bottles, which is sometimes better than the tequila, like colognes or perfumes.
Yeah, there's now we did write them down though. We made a point to write them down, like the ones that we really liked. And I remember that specifically. I was like, that's just, you have different tequilas. You have like your daily drivers where, you just, like I said, my wife and I will do a couple shots and just enjoy it, whatever. Then you have mixers, which it doesn't really matter because it's going to go in orange juice, right? Or whatever. Yeah. And then you have we're going to do this one and not do another one for a month and just let's enjoy it. And that's the $100 bottle one. So it depends on what time of day it is. Most of the time it's Lunazol, chilled, Reposado, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, I keep it in the freezer. And
Same.
Crystal had vodka. I'm more of a vodka guy, but they came out very cleverly. And I think about what they did here. They came out with an agave flavored vodka.
Okay.
It's tequila. they're not allowed to call it tequila.
Yeah, they sell that on the bottom shelf here, and they brand it as tequila, but it's actually like half vodka, half tequila because it doesn't say 100% agave.
Right. Yes. I don't believe it's at the standard level, but when I tasted it,
Right.
it just tastes like tequila, and not a particularly good one. In fact,
Right.
they have vodka distilled from wheat, distilled from rice, distilled from potatoes, and I
Right.
don't like. The only ones I think I like are the potato-based ones. There's a Crystal Head vodka, just the original. Then all
Right.
the other bottles that have different designs, I want them for the bottle, but I can't stand what's in them.
Same.
But
Mark's got a
what
great suggestion here. I'm not sure if it'd be a good idea, but it's a great suggestion.
Ask your computer guy. Maybe you and Carey should do a drunk tech support stream. I don't know how familiar you are with my channel, Scott, but my sister and I, we did that. We brought out our liquor of choice. We said, okay, this is we're gonna do a call-in show,
Okay,
live call-ins, and we are not going to answer your questions seriously. That's the point. And we're gonna, because tech support is so bad, we're intentionally going to be bad to be funny.
Oh my
so
God.
Don't expect a sincere answer.
I love it.
Bring on your question. And so, you got your callers that are trying to prank call you or whatever, because it's all live.
Right.
And my sister's really good at just sort of like insulting them in a way that's like a little less blunt forced trauma than the way I do it.
Right.
And so I'm cracking up by her responses. And then I'm coming up with my own lines that I'm patting myself on the back. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And we did that like twice. And then I really thought, is this professional? Is this the vibe I want to get off? I like having a family-friendly channel, but I'm not breaking any rules. It's my channel. I can do what I want. So my compromise was I'll do it in the evening. We'll put a disclaimer. This is for adults, and everything is sarcastic and satirical.
Right.
Join us in the fun. And there was no backlash from it.
Right.
But if my client saw that, I might have some explaining to do.
There's that fine line between letting your people see the real you behind the armor and
behind the professionals,
what if somebody that I actually am trying to woo, as far as support goes, it sees this. I could say, you know what? At the end of the day, it's your channel. You didn't break any rules. Do what you want. If they don't like it,
not if it's going to cost me business clients.
But how many people
Musk is on Joe Rogan and he takes a hit out of a legal joint.
Yeah.
And now he's got to address all the negative press and shareholders leaving the company for something so stupid. Completely legal, didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And one hit, like, oh yeah, he's wasted now. So there's certain things you do in private you absolutely wouldn't do in public. If you're a public personality, people are going to judge you. And that's the downside. It kind of takes the fun out of it.
Right.
But I did have a good time. I really did enjoy it. And
of course you did, because you were drunk. That's why.
Well, I was getting there. I'll tell you what, maybe not at first, but halfway through the show, I think I was drinking Fireball.
Fireball? I saw somebody comment. It was like fire. I remember that one, Fireball. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I polished that bottle off. And I'm not a big guy. Doesn't take
Frank's got a great idea. Viewer drinking game. Take a shot every time Carey says Windows 11.
I would think things like when I say okay or the word now, take a shot. Because those are, if I watch my videos back, I'm like, why did I say that so many times?
Right.
So
CB's got
beat myself up. Let's make a game out of it.
CB's got an interesting question, and I'm not sure how to answer it.
Let's see, CB.
There we go.
We both know your opinions on running end-of-life Windows, but what's your opinion on running end-of-life Office? Okay. You know what? That's a great question, because Office 2016 and Office 2019 both expire on October 14th of 2025, last I checked.
Right.
Then Office 2021 expires 1 year later.
Right.
And then that leaves you with Office 365, really, right? Or I guess there's a 2024.
Yeah, I think so. The correct answer is
correct answer.
Okay. Disclaimer: I don't know of any specific Office vulnerabilities that I've seen in 10 plus years. So the likelihood of an Office vulnerability is a lot less than a Windows vulnerability. I say you're a lot better off using an older version of Office with a newer version of Windows instead of the other way around. To be 100% safe, I would probably go with the Office 365. May cost you a few dollars more, but you get the advantage of having guaranteed security patches if there is an Office vulnerability that is discovered. That's what I would say.
This is a tough question because I think my answer changes based on who's asking. If we're running a business and we're making a profit from using Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or Outlook, these are tools, no different than the rent that we pay for, the electricity, all of these things that we invest in and in return are generating an income from.
Right.
Then I think it's important you have the best, most up-to-date tools available. So if you're a surgeon and you have old tools from 1974 that are a little squeaky and maybe a little rusty and a little worn for the wear, do you want that surgeon operating on you? But the surgeon is still going to charge you the same price as though any other surgeon that's using brand new tools. The tools that we use represent to a customer how skilled we are. So if you have a surgeon who is a great surgeon or a mechanic who can fix anything, but you only give them two tools. So the mechanic gets a pair of pliers and a flat blade screwdriver.
Right.
You're going to think that mechanic doesn't know what he's doing. Same with the surgeon. If all you got is a box cutter and a pair of needle nose pliers, that surgeon's an idiot.
Right.
But if it's just you,
right,
and you're not charging a customer and you're trying to save money, maybe LibreOffice or OpenOffice is worth consideration. Yeah. Google, right?
I've actually used, I don't use Microsoft Office. I've used OpenOffice for, probably at least 6-7 years without any compatibility issues at all. It's completely transparent. And I've had people going back and forth sending me stuff from their Microsoft Office, and I can edit it and send it back. And like you said, LibreOffice is a great alternative as well. So that may be a good way to not worry about it, because those programs, being free, constantly update, which is really what you want as far as security.
Yeah, I suppose the argument with those is they're not as feature rich, but what I heard was 80% of the people that use Office only use 10% of the features.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you're doing advanced word processing and spreadsheets and even though those programs can still do stuff like VLOOKUPs and all that, there's some serious functionality that only there's a certain layer of people that use that, and those are the people that probably already have Office, the full Office package, because that's what they do. But most of us just type up documents or basic spreadsheets. And why do I need to pay for a program to do very, very basic stuff?
Well, and Google's got their alternatives as well. So
right.
It's not like anybody's forcing your hand. But when it comes to security with Microsoft Office, I do wince a little when I see somebody's running an old version of Office in a business environment, even in a home environment. Somebody's still running Office 2003.
But especially in a business environment. 100%.
Well, in a business environment, I had a client that could no longer open modern documents that end with the docx.
Right.
And
because the old version can't read them. It doesn't even know how to read them.
Right. It's an unfamiliar.
Right.
You can go backwards, but you can't go forwards into the future.
Right.
So I said, well, we need to get you a new copy of Office. And at the time it was $250. Now I've got cheaper sources for legitimate copies now, but this was a few years ago.
Right.
I said, I'll tell you what, whenever you get one of those, just email it to me. I'll convert it back to doc and send it back to you.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to suggest, is just have the other person save it as a doc instead of a docx, and problem.
Oh no, they can't do that. No, they're dealing with their customers.
That's too much work.
So this is a lawyer, and they're dealing with other law firms. or they're dealing with the customers themselves that say, oh, here's the document of
Right.
the
I got you.
doctor's statement or the x-rays or whatever it is. And everybody's doing something their own way. And one actually, now that you bring that up, I had a support call a few weeks ago that their fax machine wasn't working. It was only getting like a page or two and it would stop.
Okay.
And it stopped scanning this. It would, it now scans right to a network share, so they're not wasting paper.
Right.
And this became an issue because they're dealing with a law firm, and it's an older guy that runs a law firm, and he will not send them this documentation in email or any other way. Like, this is the only secure way I will send it. I will not send it any other way. So in you guys, they can't go forward with what they need to do until I get this documentation. And
Right.
they can't get the documentation because the copier is not working, or the fax machine.
Right.
This is 2025, right?
He's old school, man. That's what he learned. That's what he came up with.
Still a lot of medical places, and real estate agents up until recently, they like their fax machines.
Yes, they do.
So I had a technical problem where basically the answer was to completely reset the whole device. It's one of those big Xerox machines that does faxing.
Yeah.
And I never set it up. Somebody else set it up.
Right.
So I was unfamiliar with it. And they're in a pickle. I said, let me see what I can do.
Right.
And I ended up having it just reset back to factory settings, setting the networking back up, setting the share back up,
Right.
figuring the permissions out,
Right.
and then tested it. I guess it's been working. They're like, what did you do? I said, I'm not exactly sure what I did.
Right.
But
And that was probably a lot faster than trying to figure out why the fax part wasn't working. Just start over from scratch.
well, yeah, the problem is they had a second fax machine and that one wasn't working either. So I started
These
thinking
people need to stay away from fax machines, seriously, or
Well, I
use
started
eFax
thinking-
or something.
So if you think about it, right, it's making a connection,
Right.
it's receiving a fax, and then before, let's say the fax is 10 pages, you get to page 2 or 3, connection's gone. So I'm thinking you got to call your phone guy.
Yeah.
That sounds like the phone's not.
Right. Sounds like some kind of hardware problem, analog phone line or the
So-
fax hardware itself.
One change I did make is I set the baud rate to the lowest it'll go.
Yeah.
So I think it was 9,600. And I think the default was like 33.6. And I'm like, well, they can wait. It's not a big difference. It's slow no matter what. So I set it to 9,600 because if it's a noisy line, there's a lot more room for.
Yeah. You got a little more stability.
Yeah.
And for you younger folks watching the stream, baud is how we used to measure transmission speed.
Did
I
baud
remember when I got my first US Robotics 56K modem, I thought I was the bomb.
You rich people.
I know, right? Hey, Tweaks had a comment here. I think it's right up your alley. Go back a little bit, about 10 minutes back.
What's the name on the
Tweaks?
Tweaks?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
So I made a hiccup when I changed my old PC from legacy to UEFI. After that, I couldn't get into the BIOS. I could not get any display. I didn't get any display. I tried every option. Did I brick the motherboard? Switching from UEFI to legacy should have no impact whatsoever. on your
Switch it back.
Well, he can't. He can't see the screen.
I've never seen switching to UEFI or to legacy prevent you from getting into the BIOS. I don't think there may be a problem with the BIOS and the motherboard, but I don't think it's something you did. I think
I would wonder if while you're in there, you made a couple other changes too.
But that still shouldn't prevent the BIOS from booting. Even if you totally foobar the BIOS, it should still load if the motherboard is good.
Even with an error, it should still.
Agreed. Right.
So here's my question. What are we talking about? A laptop, a desktop, something you built? Is this 25 years old? Tell me what is the make and model of motherboard that you're running? Because I'll tell you where I'm going to go with this. Just the same way with the fax machine. Reset. There's always a BIOS reset or a battery you can remove.
Hopefully. Yeah.
True. Sometimes it's like a rechargeable battery. But there's usually some form of BIOS reset. Some are easier to get to than others, but it should be there somewhere. And depending on if it's a Dell or HP pre-built, or if it's something you built yourself, or if it's a laptop, it's all different. So tell me the make and model of either a pre-built machine that you have that this is in, or if this is something you built, what is it? What's the make and model of the board? Then I can be more specific with a suggestion. I'm glad you caught that, Scott. I did not see that.
I figured that was right up your alley.
Ben Laird wants to know if you should build a computer while sober.
What's the fun in that? Well, okay, for you or for a client? That's really.
Should you? I think the question is should.
I don't do anything sober.
MIB Pro says,
that's pretty much it. No, if you're getting paid, absolutely, you should be sober. Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Holzman. Love your content. Well, flattery will get you everywhere. If you like my content, be sure and check out Scott's. Ask your computer guy. His videos are a lot shorter than mine, and get right to the point.
Usually about 2 hours shorter. Hey, Doman's actually got a interesting. I didn't think about this. Neither do you. If that graphics card doesn't support UEFI, that would explain why he couldn't see anything on the screen when he switched to UEFI. If he removes that graphics,
that doesn't.
It's a piece of hardware. If you remove it, you eliminate it as a possibility. Take the graphics card out, see if it uses onboard. I assume he means he's got an add-on card. Use the onboard and see what happens. It's worth a try, right?
Well, I know the other way is true. I know CSM, compatibility support mode, is for older graphics cards that don't support UEFI. Oh, I see where you went with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you take it out of the equation, and if it fixes it, great. Now we know what the problem is. You can switch back to legacy, plug the card back in, everything works. If it doesn't work, get a better graphics card.
Here's one for you. You want to read that aloud?
Yeah, I was just reading that. About where do you draw the line on working on very old hardware? I don't work on anything still running on DDR3. Oh, interesting. Because it kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier. I don't limit anybody as far as hardware. Now, software, based on the conversation Carey and I had earlier, that's a whole different ballgame. But if you got a 10-year-old Windows 10 machine and it's got 4 gigs of DDR3, I don't care if you're happy with it. Now, what's going to happen in October is a whole different ballgame. But as far as the hardware, I don't. My attitude is, if the customer is happy with the way the machine runs, based on what they do, there's really no practical reason to push them to upgrade hardware. Now, if they complain all the time because it's slow, and okay, that's a whole different ballgame. But no, if you're happy with it, use it till it dies. Absolutely.
My concern would be the ability to get parts, my ability to support them, and taking them on as a customer.
But you deal with that when the time comes. You just say, hey, nobody makes this anymore. You're going to have to upgrade.
Okay. It depends on the problem, I suppose.
True. Desktop shuts off around time. Sometimes it just does a reset or a black screen with no error codes. Everything is replaced, so it's all new. Well, there's no error codes that you see, but there is a thing in Windows called Event Viewer, and that will show you every problem that has happened. You may be shutting down, and secretly your Event Viewer is going to show you the reason it shut down. So when you get back into Windows, go to your search bar, type Event Viewer, look through those system or operating system log files, and that should hopefully give you an indication of, well, if you know what time it happened, you could kind of look and see ballpark, it was this date and this time, and okay, this is the error. That will point you in the direction you need to go. It could be something as simple as faulty RAM. It could be a electrical surge, where you got it plugged in. It could be 100 different things. It could be 1,000 different things, but the Event Viewer will help you understand what caused the problem with that machine.
Maybe something else to consider.
It's a good place to start.
Absolutely, no disagreement. But it doesn't start and end there, because there could be a bad switch. That's your reset switch on your case may be shorting out intermittently. I've diagnosed that live on camera. That was a shocker. Not
Yeah,
literally.
that was one of the like 3 videos of yours I actually watched. No, I'm kidding. I do remember watching that one because I thought, oh my God, that is the last thing I would have checked.
Right. And it was the last thing anybody else checked too.
You're 100% right. That could absolutely be that. What I guess
Look-
what I mean is if you go in the event viewer and there's nothing obvious that's happening, it's just PC experience to shut down. Now you can say, okay, it wasn't a Windows problem, it wasn't a RAM problem. Maybe we should start looking elsewhere, i.e., power, connectivity, power switches, things like that. But if there's an obvious RAM incompatibility or what do they call it?
A memory error.
Thank you. Yeah, a memory error. You know,
You were having a memory error just now.
It's right. How ironic. That's going to be a short on your channel, I guarantee it. But yeah, if it doesn't specifically say it's a crash when trying to write this block of memory, okay, there's no obvious problem. So now you can start looking at, okay, try plugging it into a different outlet or plug it into a UPS, and that doesn't make any difference. Swap the power cable. You'd be surprised how many times those things actually go bad.
They can get loose.
Yeah, they absolutely can. And might be a power supply. Your power supply might not be making the connection. This could be 100 different things.
Standoff behind the motherboard that's in the wrong place.
Exactly. It could be a short somewhere.
Could be a driver in Windows. What I would do, I think, first of all, I agree with you 100%. Go to your event log because it's easy. Before you start taking things apart, keep it super simple.
Right.
KISS method.
Wait, do we need to rewind for a second? Can I make that a short on my channel? Carey Holzman just agreed with me 100%.
I'll do that sometimes, but don't get used to it.
Okay. All right.
Don't get too comfortable.
As we getting closer to the end of the stream, now the questions are coming in here.
Right.
Let's see.
But well, wait a minute, I wasn't done.
Okay, I'm
I
not
have
listening.
another 20 minutes of pontification.
Okay.
So no, I just think what I would do is if let's assume there's nothing in the event viewer because that's my attitude.
Right.
Not going to waste my time. I'm going to create a memtest86 bootable USB drive for free. And I'm going to let memtest86 run all night.
Right.
And I want to see how often does the computer reboot? Does it reboot once a day, twice a day? I want that to be keep it out of Windows and see if it reboots.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because if it's not rebooting in Windows, regardless of the memtest86 results, then that identifies if we have a hardware or a software problem. Right?
Well, if you take Windows out of the equation, now you know it's not a Windows problem.
Right. So if, for example, I let memtest run overnight and I wake up in the morning and memtest isn't running anymore because the system shut down,
right.
I've got a hardware problem.
Have you ever done that?
Memtest shows a bunch of red items.
Yeah,
I got bad memory.
Have you ever done that? I maybe it's just a thing that I do, but like I would, when I wasn't sure, I would like just open up a notepad, an unsaved notepad, just type some random text in it, and then come back in the morning. And if it's still there, the computer did not restart.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
I just thought that was me.
No, I think I use Word, but Notepad will do in a pinch.
Right.
Absolutely. The problem with Notepad now is it saves the last. When you open and close Notepad, it'll reopen. So if the system reboots overnight and it restarts all the open applications and put back, you'll never know anymore.
Well, I haven't done that in like 10 years, but that's what I used to do when I was checking a machine. But yeah.
Let's see.
Let's see. William
that's for Kevin. This goes back to Tweaks, who says the computer that they did the UEFI change in the BIOS and no longer gets video. You want to read that one?
Yeah, it was an old Lenovo ThinkCenter onboard graphics. I tried changing, then clearing the CMOS, even changing the battery, after which I started changing the RAM, CPU, still no luck with display. I would probably pull that battery and leave it out for several hours. Your system may be frozen in a, if you've ever had a machine basically where you hit the power button, nothing comes on because your machine's stuck in sleep mode, kind of the same thing. Your BIOS can get in that state. So if you pull that battery, it should, after a couple of hours, it should discharge it enough where, and of course, when you turn it back on, if you can get to your BIOS, you're going to get all the, memory, date, all that stuff that comes up. But if it doesn't come back on after a couple hours, I would disconnect any other hardware, CD drives, hard drives, everything. Nothing connected except your display and your power supply. And once you do that, after putting that battery back in, that should give you a clue as to whether that motherboard is gone or not. And it could just be the motherboard. It could have nothing to do with you switching it from UEFI to legacy or vice versa. It could just be total coincidence. But that's
a problem with the monitor.
Okay. Yes.
Or the monitor cable.
Try a different monitor and a different monitor cable. That is excellent point.
Or a different computer on that monitor.
Oh, right. It verified that the monitor's good. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you're sitting here working on this thing and the problem's over here. You're never going to get it fixed.
And I've done that so many times. So many times.
Me, never.
No, of course not. Of course not. Let's William's comment here. I can hardly read. I'm waiting on my new glasses to come in. These are my emergency ones.
Who said that?
William Lynn. I hate how the Microsoft Store Dolby Access application on laptops crashes, and when you reopen Access, it will get stuck on the Dolby logo until you reboot.
I don't know anything about that problem.
I got nothing.
I seem to have gone through my whole life without a Dolby Access application solving any problems for me. I don't know why I would voluntarily put that on my system.
Well,
and I don't know what I would get from it besides trouble.
Well, let's just assume, for sake of argument, that William has a reason for it.
Maybe he wants to listen to us in Dolby stereo.
I wouldn't want to listen to us in mono.
I don't even want to see me in 1080, let alone 4K.
Seriously. Okay, so the first thing I would say is there something specific that you need that Dolby Access application for? Are you watching Dolby THX Blu-rays on your computer? If you don't specifically need that application and your sound still works, I would probably just maybe even see about trying to get it outside the Microsoft Store. Maybe there's something wrong with the actual download from them. But honestly, if you don't need it, I wouldn't even worry about it. You can spend.
I wonder if it's a want versus a need.
Well, we try to take care of what people want, but sometimes if it works, it's like if somebody only needs to watch YouTube, they don't have to watch it in 1080. Then if you can get it to work in 720 and they're fine with that, okay. Well, I don't know why, but it's working. I would say, what's the reason for the Dolby Access? Is it just because it's available in the download store and you want to watch THX movies? I don't know. We need more information.
I've never had that question before, so I don't know anything about it. But I would go to the manufacturer for that, just because it's so specific.
Yeah.
Frank Jimmy says, when I help users with email, I ask, how do you get your email? I get a lot of blank stares. Yep. What do you mean? I say, well, do you use Outlook or do you go on email? I despise AOL Desktop Gold.
I have a client here locally, and I'm not going to use his real name. I'll call him Jeff because he watches my videos. So I'm hoping he's watching right now. He runs a multi-million-dollar real estate property management company, and he uses AOL Desktop Gold. And no matter, remember we talked earlier about like we could lead a horse to water, but they won't listen, and nothing they do. Nothing I can do can get him off of it. I walk in and I hear, "You've got mail," and I'm like, "Oh I'm like, are you on your?" I even tried setting him up with like, go to the AOL website. You don't need to pay for AOL anymore. Just go to the website or set up Thunderbird to download it. Do something other than that stupid program that slows your brand new computer down. Yeah, I can't stand AOL. Can't stand it.
A couple customers that won't get away from Juno.
Well, no, the worst part is he uses AOL for his business email. So it's whatever at AOL.com. And I'm like, okay, I got nothing for you. I got nothing. I was just
John Downey in the chat says, with Windows 10 support coming to an end, many people are using PCs that don't support Windows 11. This speaks for the reliability and the power of the 7th generation and previous generation processors. I mean, it says a lot more than that, but yeah, that little sliver that you've taken out of the pie does not represent the whole pie, but the pie is delicious. I agree. But,
Agreed.
you know, sometimes I see in society today where people only take the part that meets their agenda. And it doesn't matter if that part is 10% of the picture, 50% of the
Right.
picture. But when I'm reviewing a product, and I was talking about this the other day, I think it's important if I'm really hammering on a product and I don't like this and I don't like that, take a breath, tell me something you like. Okay.
Right. Right.
Because if there is nothing about it you can say good, then there's no reason for you to specify all these little details of what's bad. The whole
Right.
thing is bad. You're already closed-minded. You've made up your mind. And any sort of isolation of the breaking bad down into smaller pieces doesn't change. You don't like it.
Right.
So when it comes to Windows 10 versus Windows 11, this was never intended, at least not for me, to suggest the hardware was junk. I never intended that.
Mhm.
It's just that there has been evolution between the 7th gen and earlier chips to the manufacturing and the processes and the technology, which, you know, it grows and evolves so quickly.
Right.
To suggest and dismiss 7 or 8 years of evolution in such a fast moving pace,
Right.
to say that the thing 8 years ago is good. I agree it's good, but compared to what?
Yeah.
If you're comparing it to a 486, it's awesome.
It's awesome.
If you're comparing it to a brand new latest generation
you know,
AMD or Intel,
Right.
it's good. It's not as good,
Right.
but it's good.
Right. Scroll back a little bit. Lawrence has a question specifically for me. It was behind that one that you just pulled up. There you go. Hey, Scott, do you have a live show? All I've seen is your horrible, awful video. Oh, I'm sorry. Your recorded videos. I used to do lives a while back. I think I got maybe 3, 4, 5 of them. I just don't do them a whole lot because up until recently, I didn't have enough subscribers for me to even justify doing a live video. Sitting here talking to a screen, and have a lot more subscribers now. So Carey and I talked about this the last time I was on his show. I probably, now that I have enough people that would actually jump in and ask questions, I am looking to do that. So stay tuned, reach out to me on my channel, remind me because I'll forget. But thanks for the question. I do appreciate that. I enjoy doing this, especially when it's interactive. You know, when you're just sitting here talking to a screen and you're like, okay, well, today we'll talk about LEDs. You know, I mean, but when people are actually asking you questions, then it's 100% justifiable. I'd do it every week if that was the case.
It's sort of like drinking alone versus going to a bar.
It's exactly what it is, except you don't even get to look at the waitress or the bartender. You're just looking at a little box who's not really that pretty.
I might be looking in a mirror and just like the view fine.
Well, that's you. Might be an Arizona thing. All right.
David Graham says, I can map drives on a computer from computer B to computer A, but then I can't access computer B. Well, David.
Are they same operating system?
Does it matter?
Yes.
It does?
It not in the sense that it can't be done, but like Windows 10 to Windows 10, it should be very simple. If you go to like Windows 10 to Windows 11, Windows 10 to Windows 11, there are some changes. It has to do with, oh God, you're really making me think here. There's some kind of in the network settings, something about the SMB settings or something like it's in the network settings that you have to change in order to make the 10 and 11. If it just doesn't automatically work, a lot of times it does, but if it doesn't, you have to. I had to Google it to figure it out. But yeah,
you're not wrong.
Okay, that's twice you said that. Are you drinking?
You're in the ballpark.
Okay.
There's an authentication that got turned on for security reasons. And there's also guest fallback that's been removed. So if you're not logging in with names and passwords, especially things like Synologies, but any computer, any device that can connect to the internet, regardless of what that device is, a camera, a phone, a refrigerator, any version of Windows, Linux, Mac, can in theory talk to any other device connected to the internet. So that's where security becomes a concern. So you can imagine how preposterous it is for somebody that's like, how can a hacker in China get into my computer, but I can't access the computer right over here in my own house?
Right.
So I don't know the answer to your question, David, without knowing, well, the details such as Scott was mentioning. What are we connecting? Is it Windows 10? Is it Windows 11? And I do have a video that steps you through a very long process of everything to check. See, here's the thing. If you want to network two unmolested Windows computers, when I say unmolested, I mean the user hasn't messed with it. It's all default. It's super easy. But after the user watches all these videos and reads all these articles and molests the integrity of the computer to the point where now I have to search for all of the tangles that you created and untangle them back to default. That is why it's a 2-hour video, because it's to undo unknown changes the user got, finally got frustrated and asked me. Now that we're here, the buck stops with me and I can fix every network problem. And it might be easy, or it might involve having to check a bunch of settings that we wouldn't have had to check if you didn't change them. Now, maybe you didn't change any. I'm not saying you did, but you probably did. If it's this hard, you probably changed something from some bad information or misunderstood information, but it can all be very easily, and by easily, I mean you can do it. It won't cost you anything but time. And usually if I have like a brand new install of Windows and another brand new install of Windows, and I want to show you how we can share files between them, that's a 10-minute video. Yeah. But going through checking every setting, that's a 2-hour video.
Yeah. He did say one is pro, one is home, both 11.
Does it make a difference? That makes zero difference. Yeah. So
says Dolby does crash.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to help you with that, David, but unfortunately in a live video, that would probably monopolize everything. So reach out to us at our channel email. We can ask you some questions and have you try some things and get back to us. And I do have a video that goes through the entire 2-hour checklist. And that I can send you a link to that video as well.
John has a question. John Downey. I've never seen this before. 8th generation i7 Dell Precision laptop is now giving a warning to use a Dell compatible monitor. He's got an Asus 28-inch 4K monitor, and have you ever seen use a specific brand monitor? I've plugged in thousands of them. I've never seen that.
I've seen it complain about using a Dell Genuine battery.
Yeah.
I've seen it complain about you're not using the recommended resolution for the graphics card of the monitor.
Right.
But nothing specific about Dell doesn't even make monitors.
Right.
They brand monitors.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe you can take a picture of that and send it to us so we can see it.
That would definitely
Not
be.
That we don't believe you. It's just we don't believe you. We find it hard to believe because we haven't seen it.
He doesn't believe you because this is the Carey Holzman's live stream. I don't believe you because I'm a guest, but he doesn't believe you more than I don't believe you. That makes you feel better.
Sometimes people say, my screen says I can't do this. And then I read it and I go, that's not read it
what
together.
It says.
Can
right.
you read that out loud to me, please?
All right.
And then when they read it out loud and they hear themselves, I don't have to say anything else. But sometimes we're in a hurry and we make assumptions. On the other hand, maybe everything he's saying is 100% accurate and neither of us have ever seen it before. That's why I genuinely would love to see that, because
this is why we shouldn't be drinking on live streams, because maybe he's right.
Maybe we're not the ones that are.
And yeah, maybe he's right. What's this about the PC Manager, the utility? I've never used it. So
it's fantastic.
I've never used it. But you could probably answer that question since you obviously know the software.
Kevin McNeil, you ever use CCleaner?
Revo's better, but whatever.
No, I mean like for system maintenance. Revo's just an uninstaller, right?
Yeah, no, only thing I've ever used CCleaner for was like temp file cleanup, and Windows does just as decent as a job. So there's no reason. Now that CCleaner, I think, is part of the Avast family, I think it's Avast or AVG. I just generally stay away from it. It doesn't work as an all-in-one utility. I'd take that back. There are times where a program that I try to uninstall it, and for some reason it gets hammered. I don't want to go download it again just so I can install it to properly uninstall it. I will just use that to go in there and just remove it from the startup items, but should use something like Revo to completely go in there and gut it. But yeah, occasionally.
How often do you need to do that?
Rarely. Yeah.
Do you know what CCleaner stood for?
I don't.
You don't know its original name?
Mm-mm.
It was originally called Crap Cleaner, but when it became more popular, they were told it was not a professional marketing term to be using to promote your product.
It's probably a good idea from a branding standpoint.
And so
I
then
didn't
I
know
hear
that.
people call it CC Cleaner. And I'm like, no,
Oh God, it drives me crazy when they do
it's
that.
Crap Cleaner, CCleaner.
Yeah.
All right. Kevin McNeil wants to know, in Microsoft PC Manager, there is a deep uninstall function. Is it any good for a clean uninstall of an unwanted app? Well, I will tell you, there's a lot of things my car can do that I don't use in my car. I just don't. There's a lot of things applications can do that I don't use those applications for. So when you mention CCleaner, I still might pull up CCleaner to delete 10 files. Maybe I'm in the mood, but I won't use it to clean a registry because that's just not a good idea. And there's no benefit. Even if you're successful, it's still the same.
Right.
You won't be able to measure any difference. So if PC Manager has an uninstaller, I've never used it. Now, if we go over to this machine right over here, I've already got it fired up. Do I have my keyboard and mouse plugged in? I do. Let me show you, Scott.
He's even got the cube of death going on in there.
Look at how ready I was. Like this whole question was set
Oh,
up.
you know what? And while you're doing that, you were talking about CCleaner. People ask me about cleaning the registry and what, and this is the analogy that I use. I don't know if you've ever used it, but picture like a JK Rowling book, like this thick, right?
Yeah.
That's your registry. But if you take out those couple empty pages on the front end and the back end, the book's still that thick. That's basically what a registry cleaner is going to do. It's going to go clean up enough of that stuff, but it's still going to take you 6 days to read that book. Don't even mess with it.
It's an interesting analogy. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
well, we're Southern. We come up with all kinds of weird stuff.
Any way that we can help. Look, when I'm trying to explain something to a customer, I'm not trying to turn them into a tech. I just want them to understand the gist.
Right.
And I think that does that. That's the gist of it.
Yeah.
It's really, you're not really making any difference. It's a placebo. I guess if the placebo makes you feel better, go for it. But there's a potential consequence that your whole registry could collapse like a Jenga. I use the Jenga game as a replacement for the registry cleaners. But we don't need these blocks holding up the tower. We just take these blocks out.
Right.
And what ends up happening when the tower collapses? Should have just, it wasn't hurting anything. Anyway, so let me go over to my computer. Okay. See if I can get this on the screen first. If I go to this button.
So while you do that, me and my kitten bladder are going to take a 2-minute break.
Well, you do that. Let me go to my camera. Okay, so now I see the Elgato. You're off camera, Scott, so you can step away. And then the reason it says Elgato is because I did not plug the HDMI cable in. What? Carey, you never do that. So let me plug our HDMI cable in. And that should take us to the desktop of the new build that we've got here. And there it is. And what I want to do, is my mouse turned on? No, I have to turn the mouse on too. Okay. On every build I do, I use and install the free PC cleaner from Microsoft. I no longer use things I used to use, like Glary Utilities, CCleaner, Iolo, System Mechanic. I don't touch that stuff anymore because now things have evolved and things have changed. Now, the manufacturers of those other products still make those other products and they still want you to buy their other products. Whether or not you need them is beyond the point. They want to convince you need it. Microsoft has this free program called PC Manager. And the way you get PC Manager is very, very easy. You just go to your search bar and Windows 10 or 11 and just type in PC Manager. And it will pop up as available in the Microsoft Store, or you can download it from the website. It's a small download, and it comes from the manufacturer who makes the operating system. So who better to do any sort of maintenance than the manufacturer Who's going to know the ins and outs, the inner workings of Microsoft's file system and registry and all the complexities? Who's going to know that better? CCleaner, Glary, or Microsoft? Clearly, Microsoft knows Windows much better than anybody on the planet. So when Microsoft says this is a maintenance tool for our Windows application, and it's free, but you have to know to go and get it. And I have it just sitting down here in the system tray. And what I do is I set Smart Boost to on. And what does that do? What that's going to do is when this reaches a bunch of temp files up here or RAM usage, which I can manually hit boost, it clears everything out. And now we're fresh and good. Then under disk cleanup, I click here and it starts searching for temporary files it can remove. And you'll see there's a lot of unchecked boxes. I used to check all those boxes, but then you end up losing all your cookies. You got to relog into everything again. So I just leave everything alone. So even though it says it can clean a total of however many megs or gigs, that's assuming you're checking every single box. So I just hit proceed or whatever that says. It's too small for me to read it. And then it just deletes all those temp files. Now, by having the smart, what was it called? Let me go back. I'll click done, go back to the home page, set Smart Boost. Maybe that only affects the RAM usage. So I do this for every single customer. This is a part of my maintenance. I install this. It's free and it auto runs. Customer never has to touch it. I make sure I turn that Smart Boost on. Now, there's a lot of other features and things and bells and whistles that this will do. I don't use any of them. And that's not to say they're not useful. Just for me to say, I don't need them. I have not found any value in them. And that may change as I learn more about the product or as customer need changes that I can say, oh, I'm going to start using that particular feature now. So if there's an uninstaller here, I've never used it because I don't need to. The reason I asked Scott earlier, when's the last, how often is he needing Revo to remove something that's not coming off the machine correctly? Is I'm trying to figure out, is this something that he's doing regularly, or is this like, here in Phoenix, we very rarely get rain. I own an umbrella. I think I used it 3 times last year. So it's not that the umbrella is not a useful tool. It's that I don't need it every day. In fact, I don't need it most days. But that also doesn't mean that the pendulum swings to the opposite side where I never need it at all. So PC Manager, Scott, I strongly advise you to check this out and evaluate it. I
just put it on my machine. I'm looking at it now.
I've never seen it cause any issues.
Okay.
All right.
Well, this is actually something that might be a benefit to me, because there are times, especially when I'm researching and I've got 100 browser tabs open, and it's always right in the middle of something important, like where my video editing program is crunching or whatever. And it's like, everything just freezes. And I'm like, and I have to sit and wait and control, delete, and try to, and sometimes that doesn't work. That might be a good thing to where it starts the memory management thing, where you're talking about when it gets a certain point and just go, that sold me right there. So I'm definitely checking. I've got it now. I'm going to check it out.
And you don't have to rely on the automation. You just manually go in there and hit the boost button just to see.
Right.
Now, I haven't seen a big difference in performance boost when I do that, but I've also not seen it hurt anything. And I hate the idea that Windows doesn't really clean up after itself.
Right.
So you can still manually run a disk cleanup,
right,
and there's still going to be a bunch of temp files that this thing doesn't even touch. So one does not replace the other. I think it should be a built-in part of Windows that you don't have a choice unless you manually turn it off, that it just cleans up after itself. Like that's just a regular maintenance tool, and it's not really introducing anything new.
Right.
It's just taking what's already in the operating system and putting it in one window. So evaluate it, decide for yourself. There's one thing it does that I don't like, and that is from time to time when I manually click on it because I want to manually boost or just make sure settings haven't been changed.
Right.
It always wants to check a box to restore Windows defaults, meaning It wants to put your search engine back to Bing. It wants to make your browser back to Edge.
How
And I
annoying is
always
that?
just uncheck that box. But I also make sure that when I first install it, the box to automatically run its startup is checked. They're usually both checked by default. And I always uncheck the restore Windows defaults. That really bugs me. And it'll pop up like the automatically start at startup. You only tell it once. But the restore defaults, it's like every time there's an update to PC Manager, which happens automatically, you don't have to mess with it. You'll know because when you go to click on that and bring it up, that little box will default restore Windows. So you got to just watch that little sneaky bit. But other than that, I think there's nothing to lose. It's free. You can easily uninstall it, and you won't need Revo to uninstall it if you don't like it. Okay. And I'd be curious what your feelings are about it.
Yeah, I'll definitely check into it. I mean, especially if it's lightweight, doesn't take up hardly any resources, and it's the closest thing to having Microsoft manage itself or Windows manage itself.
It's basically a CCleaner replacement.
Right.
Do you know why Microsoft never offered a registry cleaner in the history of the company?
Why?
Because it's not a good idea to run a registry cleaner. That's why when these other companies are like, oh, you should use our program, we do what Microsoft doesn't. We'll clean your registry. There's a reason for that. All right. Well, we're about, 2 hours and 20 minutes into the show.
Yeah.
Lawrence Pierre says, Scott, I want to say thanks. I got my Sabrent USB-C docking station yesterday. Cool. I'll be taking it back home with me. I'm leaving Saturday for my homeland. I enjoyed myself.
Cool. Thanks, Lawrence. Appreciate that. Glad that was helpful.
Is Lawrence joining us from, I think, Trinidad and Tobago? Oh. I know, right? Tough life.
I know.
Good to see you, Lawrence. And Essential Working Too Hard says, hello, everybody. It's Scott. Happy Tuesday. I'm really enjoying these Tech Guru live tech talks. Well, I'm glad it's not just me. Did you have a good time?
Me?
Yeah. Did I beat you up too much today?
No, not as bad as you did the first time.
Well, see?
No, look, and that's one of the things I like it because, I could talk all day to people that think like me and do like me. It's kind of boring. It's just boring. It's like, you're an OG like me. We're both OG. So it's like, but your style, my style, they don't have to always, all that matters at the end of the day is it gets fixed and we make the customers happy. That's our two core principles. So,
well, I respect you, and that doesn't mean I always agree with you.
Yeah, same. But I've learned from you. So there's that.
And I have learned from you. And I hope that the audience together learns from both of us. And I really enjoy having you here. And I certainly hope you will come back again.
Oh, I'll come back anytime. I hope that if nothing else, that your audience, just like I was saying, it's, talking to us, hearing the same thing over and over again. Sometimes it's nice to mix it up where they feel like, because you're more of a hardcore techie guy and I'm more of on the fix it, break it, fix it software side. And so for the two of us to be able to collaborate and put our brains together to answer these questions, something that I may know 100% PC Manager, something I didn't know anything about, and vice versa. So,
and that's how we all learned right from the get-go. None of us were born with this knowledge. We've learned it from others willing to teach it, or we did the manual work and found it. But still, even if we found it, somebody had to create for us to find it, right? Somebody kind enough to share.
Right.
That's really what it's about, is community. It's not necessarily about, trying to convince people. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. I want to give them things to consider and make the right decision for them.
Right.
And so having different perspectives, I think, is very important. If everything you did was wrong, how are you still in business? And if everything I did was wrong, how do we maintain our business? Right. So there's lots of different approaches and attitudes and perspectives that aren't as sort of black and white as, a bit being on or off.
Right.
And it's really about who do you relate to better, right? There's things, or even subject matter, and how something, like your example of the J.K. Rowling book and the registry. I'm sure there are viewers that are like, that's I can wrap my head around that. That's a great analogy.
Right.
Whereas I'll say the Jenga game, and maybe people like, I don't get that. We have our approach and we have our perspective.
At the end of the day, as long as your subscriber count doesn't go down after a live stream, then I'm come back anytime. I enjoy it.
Well,
and for some reason I keep wanting to reply to all these people here, but for some reason my keyboard just randomly stopped working. I literally cannot.
I know a guy who can fix that. This guy's name's Jeff.
Oh, there's the keyboard. Now it works. It's stupid wireless keyboard.
You got to check those batteries.
Barry learned about tequila tonight.
But you get some on the keyboard.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, it's always a pleasure having you here, and I really enjoy, especially talking with other peers in the industry rather than just couch quarterbacks, that want to. Right. You did that wrong.
Right.
And really, congratulations on that video hitting 1 million views in 3 weeks. In all the years I've made video, none of them have ever done that before. And you've already done something I can't do, or I haven't been able to do.
That you haven't done yet.
I haven't done yet, and I will die trying.
Trust me, you don't want it. You don't.
I don't.
You don't want.
You know what it is? It's like it's a rich, sugary, carb-heavy dessert that you shouldn't eat.
Right. Yeah.
But you really want to eat it.
Then you end up in the emergency room later.
Yeah. No, you just I feel terrible.
Right.
I'm so happy. It was
Tweaks
so delicious. Now
Tweaks is saying that we should get together once a week. I don't know if I can handle that much Carey in my life.
I can't even handle that much Carey in my life.
I know. But oh, cool. Jim said he took my advice on upgrading to 11 on the Windows Update page. 30 minutes later, I'm working Windows 11 with all my presets stayed. Perfect. Love hearing that. That's great.
And again, anybody who's got anything negative to say about Windows 11, give me an example of what the problem is. Let's see if we can't overcome that. It may be a misunderstanding, or that you're taking a difficult way around your work.
I will give your audience a perfect example of what you're saying. One of the issues with Windows 11 that I and so many other people could not stand is that right-click context menu. And if you're all familiar with it, you right-click, you have cut, copy, paste, all that, and whatever. Now you have 6 options and then show more options. There is a registry tweak that takes 2 seconds. You can go in there and it permanently puts it back to a Windows 10 style registry or right-click context menu. That is one thing that I hated about Windows 11 until I figured it out. And then I was like, no, it's not so bad now that works. So that's one of those things where it could be just that one thing that irritates you so much, but it's an easy fix. And now it looks just like Windows 10. So there you go.
Do you have a video on that?
I do, actually. There is if pull up my channel, I'll show you.
Okay, let's go to Ask Your Computer Guy, and let me share the screen. If I click on this, wait a minute. I think I have to do this first. StreamYard's things are a little different. Let me go here first. Okay, so now I'm full screen. Yeah. And now I should be able to go to your channel. Yeah. That's not it. This is it. And then I should be able to share that. There we go.
Okay. Now, if you just go back to my main channel and then go to videos, I think you can search. Can you search my videos? Yeah, go up to.
I can.
Search my videos for Windows 11 or 22.
Just that?
Yeah. And then if you let's see, where is it?
Set up.
I think it's this first one right here. Go back up. I think that was the Windows 11 for Dummies.
Really?
I think that is the one. It's either that one or the Complete Idiot's Guide. It's one of those two where I literally show you how to do that right click context menu thing. I can't remember. I think it's towards the end.
Well, this is a big spike right here. People like this
part.
That's
probably somewhere in there. Yeah, I'm not sure if I have chapters in there, but yeah, that's anyway. It's one of those videos. I don't.
But this is a registry thing, so you have to go in the registry.
It's actually a zip file that you can download, and I do provide the link in the video. You can just go run it's got a reg file inside of it. You double click it.
Oh, it says one-click registry hack. Is that it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
There it is.
There you go, right there.
That is 42 minutes and 25 seconds, but you should absolutely watch the other 42 minutes.
I would greatly appreciate that.
Well, not only that, it's not like Scott isn't showing you a bunch of tips that we're skipping right over.
Yeah.
Just to talk about this one tip.
And actually, I have pointed a lot, because a lot of people are like, I don't know if I want to go to 10 or go to 11. I've been with 10 for a while. I point them to that video because I'm like, look, if you can watch this video and you can say, okay, I can deal with that. I can handle that. I can see what it looks like. I can make these changes and whatever. Then you can realistically make an educated decision and say, okay, Windows 11 is okay for me. But that's why I made that. I'm literally like, here's everything that's different about Windows 11 so that you can make the right choice. Just ended up being a 45-minute video, but that's because there's a lot of cosmetic changes.
I'm sorry, is that a long video for you?
For me, that's like
45 minutes. I'm still saying hello.
Dude, that's like 6 videos for me. I get in, I get out, but well, maybe if I did live streams with, 100 people watching, I'd probably be on for 2 or 3 hours a day, but I don't have that. So,
well, you have to build it and they will.
I know I have to start live streaming.
I went to the store the other day. I said, where's that favorite thing I'd like to buy? They said, we don't put it on the shelf anymore. We don't stock it because nobody buys it. I said, nobody buys it because you don't stock it.
Well, there's that. No, I am not related to Tampa Bay or Paul Merrill.
Too bad.
I know, which is ironic because I'm from Tampa. But
William Lynn says, doesn't Carey say we shouldn't mess with the registry? What is
Go
that?
Bucks. Go Bucks. Told you.
That doesn't show the that shows is it the Pirates? What are they called?
Yeah, Buccaneers.
Buccaneer. Oh.
Yeah, see, but I was in Tampa when they had these. Then they slowly migrated over the years. But when the team was founded in 1976, I was there.
Well, I have Gatorade.
Well,
you know what that's from? The Florida Gators created this, right? Or it was.
Please tell me that's not true.
It was commissioned by the Florida Gators as a request to have a drink to bring back, rehydrate the players and electrolytes, and hence the name Gator in Gatorade.
It's pickle juice. Works just as good. It's a lot cheaper.
Pickle juice.
No, seriously.
You put pickles in Gatorade and let it sit?
I'm not saying put it in Gatorade, Carey. I'm saying drink pickle juice. It has more electrolytes than Gatorade, and
but it tastes like pickle juice. You think I'm drinking this for the electrolytes?
You know what?
I'm not doing this for health.
I just can't with you. I swear to God. All right, real quick. Before I get out of here, I want to see if there's anything I missed.
Oh, this thing about doesn't Carey say we shouldn't mess with the registry? I do say that, and I stand by it. However, there are settings changes that are within Microsoft's allowed changes. So some people make changes to the registry that Microsoft does not condone.
Paul Merrill is a YouTuber. Well, that totally took the Tampa Bay thing out of the equation, didn't it? I've never heard of him. I'm with Barry.
Said he'd prefer the pickle juice.
I'll take the pickle juice. All right. Well, look, I have a wife to attend to and some tequila to drink. So hopefully your guys will let me come back and appreciate everybody being on here and Marilena and everybody for moderating. And I'm sorry if I didn't get to a question that you specifically had for me. Feel free to reach out on my channel and ask me. Just let me know you came from Carey's stream, and I'll be sure to grab it.
Well, we appreciate having you here, and we'd like to bring you on. We're trying to shoot for once a month, but there's no.
I can make once a month happen easy, no problem. Once a week. Yeah. Well, I mean, as long as I keep making million view videos, I should be able to do what I want because
you'll have all that free time.
Because I'm a big time star, but
big shot. I can say I remember back a week ago when you were nobody.
Wasn't that long ago. So, all right. Well,
I'm still nobody. All right. Thank you again for joining. Be sure and check out Scott's channel. If you haven't subscribed, check it out. Subscribe.
Ask your computer guy. Cool.
And we'll look forward to seeing you again. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Appreciate it.
Thank
you might want to
spending your time with us.
You might want to take that video, the Windows 11 video. If anybody was interested, you might want to just put it in the comments somewhere so that they can.
It'll be in the video notes.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Mara
Cool.
might have already done that. If not, we will add it to our show notes so people can go directly there.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to timestamp it. I think I want them to just, you really should watch that whole video, because if you think that little piece at the end is valuable, how would you know how valuable everything that came before it that we haven't talked about is?
I thought it was one of my better ones, but you know.
Well,
Anyway.
I haven't seen it, but what I saw so far, I liked. So
I covered a ton. I literally got a brand new Windows 11 machine and hooked up my capture card, and I just went, okay, let's figure out what's different. And I just recorded it all, and then took a month to edit it. And you know, but
a month.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of anal retentive like that. I'm a Capricorn. It's the thing.
This is why I go live, no editing.
That has an appeal to me, honestly, because I hate editing. I love it, but I hate it. So anyway,
I like having edited, having it done, but the process of doing it.
But I'm not that big time yet. I can't afford an editor. I do it all myself. So, all right. Well, we'll see you in a couple weeks or a month at the most, and you just let me know when your folks are ready, and I'll get back on.
Go back and make another one of the million view in 3-week videos between now and then. I'm expecting that of you, and I'll be disappointed if you don't. So don't let me down.
All right.
No pressure.
Right, boss. No pressure.
Thanks again. We'll talk soon. All right. And of course, I want to say thank you again to Mara, who's doing all of our channel administration in the background, all of our members and everybody joining us and interacting with us today. Thanks for hanging out. And again, check out Ask Your Computer Guy YouTube channel for great Windows related content that's produced on a regular basis. It's completely free for you to watch it. And hopefully you're already subscribed here. You'll catch me with more product reviews, repair diagnostics, other tech interviews we're trying to get lined up as well. And our good friend Doug Betts coming back about once a month as well. Just trying to give you a bunch of variety with a bunch of different perspectives, and to include all of you to interact with us during that. We always encourage that. Of course, our friends over at SCD Keys, if you're looking for a discounted Windows or Office license, use the coupon code CAREY at checkout to save 30%. Again, it's not a commissioned link. I'm putting it out there for the audience benefit. And, if people aren't interested, I'll try and find, you'll have to tell me instead of me guessing, what is it that a lot of people are looking for their computer, that they're looking for a discount on. We could put Mara to work, send some emails and see if we can't work something out with a company to work with us on that. So in the meantime, that'll wrap it up for today. And thank you all so much for watching. A special shout out to Charlie Purdy for that very generous contribution, as well as our good friend Buster, Peter Laycock, who has underwritten a lot of what you've seen here just out of his sheer generosity and kindness. And of course, to each and every member who also helps the cost of what it is to be an independent reviewer versus, working for a company that's paying me. And I very much appreciate the opportunity to continue running the YouTube channel the same way I run my business. It's about being honest and being as transparent as I possibly can, and try and find both good and bad with everything we review, not just everything's all good or everything's all bad. It does happen, but my goal is to find a little of both in everything and let you decide where that falls in your values. Thanks again for watching. We'll be back live again, maybe tomorrow. So we've had a delay in the construction, so everything's nice and quiet the last couple days. If it goes back to a lot of hammering and power tools in the noise in the background, there may be no video Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not sure yet, but stay subscribed and turn those notifications on. So if something does happen, it might be last minute, and that's how you're going to know. There is always a show on Friday, always 1 o'clock Phoenix time. And you don't need notifications for that. Rest assured, if it's 1 o'clock Phoenix time on a Friday, I'm making a video. And I hope you'll join me. Until next time, bye for now.